Okay, okay. Oliver, hello, hello. Takes off hat. That's not good. Custom exams coming up. How the elements do. There we go. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Let me get everything set up here. Pop out the chat. Is there no music playing? There's no music playing. Okay. There we go. Alrighty. It's been a week. It's Wednesday. Welcome back, everyone. Today should hopefully be a chill stream. We have so many things to draw, so I think we might just have to jump into it.
It's a long list.
Yep. How are you doing today, Druid?
I'm pretty good. I watched a boomer humor comedian clip on YouTube, and that kind of like ruined my morning a little bit, but I'm doing better.
Gotcha. There's a thing going around TikTok of this comedian trash talking Gen Z, and Gen Z people just like being grumpy about it. It's like whatever. Like,
yeah,
that's how comedy works.
pretty much. I don't begrudge them the right to make a joke about it, but
yeah, there is.
I don't find it funny.
Yep, that's fine. Sorry for the long list, you guys. Oh, that's totally fine. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll have a bunch of people coming in today and saying hello.
Yeah.
My eyes.
Probably a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's good. Unfortunately, it means that not everybody's stuff will get drawn, but that's just how it goes. My eyes are getting better and worse every day. Like, they're different every day, and it weirds me out. It scares me, so we'll have to see what happens. Let's draw some rugbies. Each generation has its gripes about those behind or in front of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
But also, it doesn't have to be that way.
I think the thing that people need to look at is comedy, if done right, is supposed to be reflective of society. Like, no comedian should be personally attacking a person.
Yes.
It should just be commentary
or an
on
entire demographic.
Yeah. And so, like, it's supposed to make you think, and it's supposed to be critical. So if someone is just being like, Gen Z sucks, it's like, well, that's not comedy. But if they're making poignant things to make somebody think about something, just like lots of people do about boomers, it's like, that's it. That's the whole thing. It's supposed to start a conversation. So it's effective, even though people are upset about it.
Yeah, the fact that Gen Z has been literally trained out of using cursive, that's not something to be pissed about.
Yeah. There's definitely people I know that are like upset. Like, why don't they teach that anymore? It's like, because they don't need it. Like, why weren't you taught how to type? These are the questions of our time. I learned how to write cursive, and I still write faster and more legible in print. So
same.
I just don't use it. Sometimes the funniest form of comedy is its reality. Maybe. Grew up on George Carlin, so he was great at flipping what you perceived. It's perceived on its head. Yeah. George Carlin was crude, but effective. I think he was a good comedian. But he also, I think George Carlin was probably like the start of the rage comedy.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm pissed off at everything because everyone is stupid. It's like, I mean, I get it's funny, but at the same time, like, you can't take that too
Yeah.
To sincerity, which is kind of where YouTube is at. Just like
Yeah.
outrage politics. There we go.
That's at that point it's not satire. It's just being a grumpy old man screaming at the kids to get off his lawn. Which situationally can be funny, but is like it's not worth taking too seriously.
That, and there's nothing stopping people from learning cursive. You want to learn cursive, go learn cursive.
Yeah.
They don't teach what's it called? Calligraphy. They didn't teach me calligraphy, but it's an option to take.
Yeah. I took a class for calligraphy in middle school.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And honestly, I personally feel like classes about calligraphy is where cursive belongs.
Yep. Please tell me if my Oliver, it is on the list. Yeah, I remember seeing it. His anger seemed more justified. I don't know about that.
Anger being justified is always a matter of perspective.
I remember, I don't know if people know Red Skeleton.
No.
He's an old comedian, like radio to starting TV comedian. Not good. Like, don't go out looking for Red Skeleton stuff. It's of its time, and that's where it can stay. But
gotcha.
But like, my grandparents loved his stuff, and a lot of his jokes were like, "Those damn pedestrians getting in the way of my car." It's like,
ooh.
So
ooh.
Yeah, like
somebody fell for the Ford propaganda hard.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Of its time. But like, social commentary, super weird. You love him. It's old stuff. Like, it's old stuff. A lot of it's just like skit based. More akin to like the I can't remember what they're called. Who did the Who's on Second stuff? It doesn't matter. Carablenet, yeah.
Like improv shows?
They were just more, it was like skit comedy, but
okay.
For radio, so it was him.
Gotcha.
Him just doing silly stuff. Something that would work really well just in
precursor to the 10-minute power hour.
Yeah, essentially. Let me get it pull up here. Freddy the Freeloader was hilarious, but I know it was a poor character to represent the homeless. Yeah, exactly. I think that was the thing they were dealing with at the time. Not exactly, like I said, not exactly great, but of its time. One excuse I will give older generations is the humans get worse at talking and new information as they get older. Teaching 60 plus people how to type probably isn't a good use of time. Yeah, I think that's fair, but like, our new school systems were, when I was growing up, slowly adopting those things.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's more important than calligraphy, or than
cursive.
Than cursive, right? Like,
yeah.
That's the step that I should make. So when people are like, "Oh, what the hell? Why don't you teach cursive?" It's like, because we need to teach things that are relevant. Like, that's the important part. Part of it is also that, like, a lot of our school systems have been kind of they don't have enough money, so you cut everything you can, and it sucks. Yeah. It sucks. So, yeah. I think a big part of it is people just like to complain and be mad for no reason.
Yeah. How dare this person be different than me?
Yep.
Rah, I don't understand them. Rah.
And so that's the outrage part of the comedy that is like, is the thing you're saying relevant, important, or are you just being mad to be mad? Which is like, that was Dane Cook, right? Like, Dane Cook just screamed. Yeah. That was what was funny about Dane Cook, is that he was loud.
I couldn't stand him.
So like, There's all kinds of different things. Are any of my messages getting through? I'm never completely sure. Yes?
Oliver? I don't know. I mostly ignore the chat because I get like tunnel vision on my art or on whatever I'm drawing, so I don't know.
Sorry, Oliver. If I'm having conversation with the chat, I try to pick out the stuff that's relevant to what we're talking about. So you were wanting to talk about your campaign. It's good. I'm glad it looks like you're gonna have a good time. I hope it works out. They have a theory. In theory, have money, but admin eats it all up. Happy in my school. Yeah. Admin is kind of administrative bloat is a problem. It's like it's something that we actively talked about when I worked at the university. A lot. Like people were always complaining and talking about it, and so it's just one of those things where the system kind of needs just to be rebooted because it's been going for so long. There's a lot of like, it's funny because like Jon Stewart, I really like Jon Stewart, but he's essentially traded in all of his comedy for that's not true, like he's still funny, but he's taken his like, I can no longer be funny about this, I need to be serious and tell you exactly what I think is wrong. It's like, that's fair. So it's like, that's the thing. Political commentary is not political, but like social commentary is great and needed, and I love it. And can be talked about through D&D and through all of the kinds of things. And it's just like different modes and means of can't think of words now. Relaying that information. Comedy is one of them, and I think that's awesome. And yeah. Don't get too upset when people make fun of stuff. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. It's okay.
This is a whole hell of a lot deeper than I had wanted or intended to go when I complained about what I think was bad humor ruining my morning. But
well, I mean that's where I started because I saw the same thing. I know exactly what you're talking about. When you said cursive, it was like, yep, that's what I thought. And yeah, I saw a lot of people being like real upset about it, and it's like it doesn't. Someone yelling in a nightclub, it doesn't affect you personally. I think you should let it go. That's all I got. People, like I said, people being malicious, fuck them. Don't let other people affect your day. I don't know what I've done, but Rugby's feet look really weird in this picture.
They are super foreshortened in a way that you don't usually do.
Yeah.
He doesn't usually go pigeon-toed.
That's true. He usually goes the other way. Do a barrel roll. Sure, I got some revisions to do. Is this a willow or a mushy?
It's called a lion's mane mushroom, and I'm having a little bit of trouble with it because they're kind of like weird amorphous puffball mushrooms, but they come, instead of just like the big puff, they come in long stringies that make them look like, a flowy lion's mane.
Yeah. They're weird because they're uniform and gooey. Like they're not one head of one cap. So
yeah.
They kind of amorphously look the same because they're all the same color. That's why I said you should be able to joke about it. You should be able to, but then it's just a matter of, tact and know your audience, right?
Yeah.
That's not true about Big Bad Evil Guy. Just the henchmen of true villains. Cronyism. That's fair. Absolutely. Capitalism and cronyism need to be watched out for.
Yeah.
I think that's... Good.
Yeah,
Good.
The clip that I watched, the woman who was making these jokes, I think she probably did know her audience, but like YouTube was not her audience, and I think that's where the outrage is happening. Is that got uploaded, and the boomers who she was talking to seemed to enjoy her jokes, but the people who she was calling out for being lazy, despite the fact that most of them did not have the option to learn the things that she's complaining they don't know how to know. Like, I feel like that's a valid reason to be at least disgruntled by the humor, right? Like, you're calling me lazy for not learning something that I was not that nobody actually offered to teach me. That's like, I feel like that is potentially a valid concern, but also like her audience did enjoy it. It just probably shouldn't have been put on YouTube.
I thought it was funny, but I didn't take it seriously because, like I said, yeah.
So you are a boomer, Rick.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. I knew a time when the internet didn't exist, so you would do that what you will. Got a question. What kind of bard should I be if I want to play a gentlemanly type? Anybody. Literally anybody can be a gentleman. That's not a class restriction. Eloquence is good, yeah. I mean, like, if you want it to be mechanical, then yeah, eloquence is great.
Yeah. If you're playing Pathfinder, then like you don't even have to choose bard. There's tons of things that fit that. Swashbuckler is great for a gentleman. I know, like, it's generally considered pirate, but you can totally go like duelist gentleman.
I've drawn so many big mustachioed brawlers that are gentlemanly.
Oh yeah. You really can do anything. Like that's flavor. Gentleman doesn't have anything to do with the class.
Could be a warlock.
You could be a paladin.
Yep. All of those things. Could be fun to terrify people with your eloquence. Yep. Yep. You, sir, need to sit the fuck down. Uh-oh. Okay.
With all due respect, sir,
yeah.
I have had quite enough of your guff.
What was it? Kingsman? Kingsman is a weird movie, but like the main agent, main Kingsman guy, very, very suave, very gentle.
The guy played by Colin Firth?
Maybe. I think so.
Galahad.
Yeah. If those are the same person, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one who beats up the thugs with a umbrella.
Yep, that's him.
Yep.
Okay, so the way this is going to work... Sorry, my eyes being really weird today. I can't tell if it's because it's like actually finally clear and I can see, and so everything's strange, or if I broke something else. Find out.
Let's hope you didn't break something else.
Yeah. So for those of you who are new, we are going to roll some dice, and whatever the dice gods demand, we will take off of the list and we will draw it here in chat. So, yeah, if you've not put your character out on the community post or the YouTube short, you can post it here, and we'll add it to the list. And then we'll carry these over from today until Friday, and then we'll have a new list next week. So, there's currently 34. So I'm going to roll 2d20s. If it's above 35, I'm going to re-roll it. No, if it's 35, I'm going to do number 1. And if it's above that, I'll just re-roll. So, that's how we're going to do this. 15 and 17 is, what is that? 32? 32. A reborn human shadow sorcerer in street clothes. Mouth sewn shut. Uh-oh.
Reborn as in undead, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Getting creepy with it right off the get-go.
Hey, I mean, you do enjoy drawing undead things, so...
That's true. That is true.
Seems appropriate to me.
Let me put up a new poll. Do. How badly I want to watch Kingsman movie, but I'm too much of a pedantic for Ben Swear to get into it? I don't know what that means.
Hadn't. meaning like too much of a fan of menswear to like take it like they'll be critiquing it too much.
Ah. Undead. Cast with undead sorcerer. Okay, reborn sorcerer. In street clothes. What is that? Does that mean like
Hoodie, lowrider jeans.
Yeah, that seems a little strange. Maybe this is for a different campaign that I'm thinking of. God, I don't know if I've ever drawn regular clothes on a person. I was trying to think of what fantasy streetwear would be.
I mean,
Oliver, I don't even know what that means, and I don't. I don't.
it's pretty much just peasant wear, I think. So like tunic.
That's kind of what I was thinking. A tunic would work.
Is this character meant to be fancy or just?
I mean, it said it was a reborn sorcerer in street clothes, so I don't know. Like, that's all I know. No more context was given. Yeah, please don't do that. What was I watching? I think it was the new Willow. There was a weird scene where they like got lost in the woods and they met a lumberjack. And it was just like, what? Why is this person wearing jeans and flannel? Like, this doesn't make any sense. It was very strange. I feel like it was like an inside joke with the crew or the producer or something, and it just didn't make any sense. That happens.
Well, all lumberjacks wear jeans and flannel.
Right, but like, why was there a lumberjack in the Willow movie?
Doesn't. When you say Willow movie, do you mean like the new show?
Yeah, the new TV show. The new TV show.
Oh.
Anything that passes for urban and magical world works. That's fair. How exactly do bards work? Like, what do they do? Literally anything. Depends on how you build them.
Yep.
They are...
Generally speaking, bards are considered to be charismatic and partial or full spellcasters, depending on the system. But like, other than that, it's pretty much anything goes.
Yep. They're supposed to like embody the term jack of all trade.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna get to.
Usually like some sort of like artistic or performance-based variation of that.
Yeah.
The big thing for me is like they basically get all the skills. Like they're allowed to roll for anything.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Yeah. So in the same way that like rogues tend to be skill mules, bards also tend to be skill mules. It's just that like a rogue is like physically kind of focused and generally themed more towards sneaking, espionage, or thievery, and bards are just kind of more like theater kid themed.
I'm trying to think of a really good example of
magic.
No, yeah, because like the iconic bard is Dandelion from The Witcher, or trying to think of other ones. But like there's a lot of really traditional bards that I liked. I'm trying to think of who they were though. main support, like just there to enhance the party in different ways. Yeah, I got a lot of support spells that don't need to be. Yeah, and like it's not traditional support. Like it's not just a healing. Like there's a lot of like illusory spells, magics like summoning mounts and stuff. Like that was a really cool one in Pathfinder that I liked a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also
sleep
tend to get
spells.
like sound themed spells like Shatter.
Chatter. That's good. Careful with the axe. What did I miss? Been drawing some women. Nice. So far, you just missed the rugby sketch. Now we're doing an undead sorcerer. I'm trying to figure out what kind of hair to put on this person. I don't
As
wanna make it
usual,
disheveled.
I'm just puttering along with a myconid. A weird one this time, but you know, I'm having fun with it. I'm gonna try to hurry up. It probably won't go too in detail because I want to help out with the prompts this week since we've got so many.
Tarot cards. That's another fun bard build you can do.
Oh yeah.
More of like or not a bard build, but like that's a traditional bard that I really like. Yeah, I don't know. Performance artwork. Yeah, that's the easiest way to do it, I think, is with like a lute. Something that is like overtly musical is like that's the simplest way to build a bard, just because it's like, look, I'm doing the thing that I am. Kind of like I'm a fighter. Here's my axe, or barbarian with an axe.
Yeah, and it is really fun to play a basic pitch bard. So using instruments. I've also seen a lot of mouth harp bards. A lot of like one man band.
I've seen a few of those. Yeah.
What's his name from Mary Poppins?
Oh yeah, Bert.
Bert, yeah, Bert from Mary Poppins.
Bert's definitely a bard.
Oh, 100%.
But like, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you were like talking like about Daniel and being archetype. My mind immediately went to Chaucer from the Knight's Tale movies or movie.
I don't know what that is.
Where he kind of does all the hyping up of the knights, like
from like A Knight's Tale. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chaucer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a good one too. Yeah, because he doesn't sing or anything. He's a
poet.
And then the way he interacts is through, I think. Yeah, I guess Hype Man's a good way to do it. I've had a few people play Hype Man. Which
is really easy to do if you're playing in 5th edition, because it's like inspiration.
Yeah. 5th edition really feels like it, the 5th edition bard really feels like it's built for a Hype Man.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen the new D&D movie yet, but I've heard lots of good things about it, and people like the complaints I've heard about the bard is just the main character is like
lack of magic.
Yeah, but like every time people say that and then I see an example in the movie, I'm like, that's it though. Like that's perfect. I really like it.
that's like he literally uses bardic inspiration constantly.
Yeah, which I think is great.
Just because it doesn't look innately like Michael Bay level on-screen magic doesn't mean it's not a magical effect he's using. I've known a few people that have done this where they want to play bard and then they just want to do it so they can like be a wizard but also use weapons. Yeah.
And I'm like, all right.
Which also is it is something you can do in 5e. It doesn't work out so well in Pathfinder.
Yeah, if you want to be casting lightning bolt all the time, just be a wizard or a sorcerer.
Yeah, or a sorcerer.
And then you can still be charismatic as a sorcerer.
Yeah.
I gotta go shopping tomorrow.
Ugh. Adulting.
Yep. That's how we do. Commissions are open, by the way, everybody. I am done with my commissions for the week, so I can start picking new ones up if people would like. Otherwise, I'm just going to start working on solo projects.
Solarpunk?
Solar Punk.
Solo projects.
Oh, I heard Solarpunk. I was like, got really excited and like,
That's the thing I like.
yes, it is.
It's definitely been a while. This is the first time I haven't had commissions in months. Let's see what happens.
I hope that you will at least take a little bit of time, a couple of hours to appreciate the lull and relax.
Yeah, that makes me panicky.
I
I have Lizardfoot Creation
the
Bar.
old man in you.
I rolled a 17 for charisma, so I think I'm going to do pretty well with convincing people. Maybe.
It's not necessarily the old man, it could also be the millennial.
A little bit of everything.
Especially if you're like a late millennial. Early millennial? Late? I don't know.
I got my first job when I was 16, and I was the old. I was late. My sister got a job when she was 14. It's like, oof.
Oh, wow.
But I had to wait until I had a car so I could drive to work.
Yeah. So did I, but I wasn't allowed to have a driver's license until I got my Eagle, and I did not want to be an Eagle Scout. So I had to wait until I was 18, and my mom finished it for me.
Weird.
I'm allowed to summon an organ to do performances. Am I allowed to? That's up between you and your DM.
Yep.
That seems really cool. I think there is a spell that summons an instrument, so yeah.
There is also smaller organs, so that there's a precedent for portable organs, and I use big air quotes.
Yeah, I've had people want to be bards, like that I haven't DM'd, but they've told me about this, where they wanted like a dulcimer or like glass harps, and it's like,
Oof, yeah.
It's like, okay, that's fine, whatever, do what you're gonna do. Versus I've had people that are just like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna take whistling so that I can fight while I whistle, and it's just like, that feels like a cop out, but okay, like whatever makes you comfortable is fine.
I haven't ever actually played a bard just because it's not a class that I'm usually very interested in. The only bard concept I've ever actually wanted to play is a character who is not nearly as good with their instrument as they think they are, and they play a recorder. They play a recorder, and they play it about as well as a 7th grader.
That sounds like a Lars character. That sounds like something Lars would do. Lars likes to troll a little bit.
Like with his Laudna clone.
Mm-hmm. The first day we played, he would say something, I'd be like Laudna, and then he would ignore me, and then he's like, and this is my pet. And I'm like, oh cool, it's a capybara. And he's like, except that it has a skull. And then he did the pate voice, and I'm like, oh, that's just pate. And then I was like, why am I being a dick like this? Like, yes, okay, we get it, Lars. Just play Laudna. That's fine. I will shut up. I'm gonna let it happen.
I mean, the only Critical Role character I think I would ever want to do that for would be Caduceus.
Yeah, but I would not play Caduceus as a cleric. I don't think I'd go the Crave cleric route.
I really want him to be a druid every time.
Same, right?
He's just,
Like,
it's just be a
that's what I
druid.
would do.
Yep. But no, I like his overall aesthetic and way he played the character. But he basically did the same thing that Clint McElroy did, where he picked cleric and played a druid. So, which is fine.
Yeah.
I think that's super fun.
Yeah.
Interesting how you went from the punk route for this design. Definitely a different take from what I was thinking. Oh yeah, sorry. I hope that's. When people say street clothes, I can only think of clothes that I own and or want to wear, which is just weird punk clothes. This is as fantasy of a hoodie as my brain can come up with. Plus, with the stitched mouth, I just like Danny Elfman.
Oh yeah, 100%.
How Sandmandy, Neil Gaiman can I get?
I would also, I think I would have gone Tim Burton first,
Yeah.
but I guess that's not really that different of an aesthetic.
No, I can make the eyes a little darker.
I mean, you don't have to, but like, I'm just saying where I would have taken it.
Sure.
I'm back. And
That and
as
Ent?
I said that.
I think it's a myconid.
Yeah,
A lion.
I mean, it might as well be an ent. It could be either.
It's just a tree.
Yeah.
Victor, Rick, when you take the suggestion from the community post, do you remove the comments? Because I can't remember if I actually suggested something or not. You can go back and look. Yeah, you can go back and look at that post. I don't remove them. I just put them on my own list. So you would have to go check. I think I'm about done with this one. I think this is pretty good.
Yep. I'm finally finished with my warm-up. What am I rolling?
2d20s. Add them together.
Yep, okay.
Or
Well,
3d10. Either way, whatever's more comfortable for you to add together.
I found the d20s first, so I'll do that. 7. A natural 1 and a 6.
Damn. A Gripply monk who is a hired killer in the Mwangya jungle.
No.
Nice.
That's good. I like that suggestion.
I love Gripplies.
Let's end this. Woo, purple. Woo, purple. I don't think that ended that one. I think it just closed it. That was weird. Boop, boop. Oh, there it ended. Okay. Oh, purple. Oh, Sonic. Oh, Sonic. Freaking Aaron. So good. All right. I'm rolling some dice. Here we go. I might roll 3 to 10. Nope, not quite enough. Whoop. I rolled a nat 20 and a 6. Male dwarf of the drunken master monk with a barrel cask for a backpack. Okay. One mailman monk coming up. Let's draw the barrel first.
God, what's that one link character? Craggy or Groggy, whatever?
What?
It's essentially. There's a dwarf who League of Legends.
Okay.
Braggy?
Grog. No? Gragas. There we go. I think it's Gragas. Big old dude with the cask. It sounds right. Man, if I'm wrong, I'm going to feel really stupid because I don't know where that name came from.
Gragas.
Gragas.
Very close.
Well, I pronounce it different, so.
Well, there's no O in it, so.
Oh, because I said Gragas. Okay, yeah. I'll concede that. I could see how it was spelt in my head, but I still think it's Garagus. But I also don't know if I've ever heard it said, you know?
Fair.
I think I made this legs too short. How do you keep your other fantasy races from just being human but X? Why stop that?
Yeah.
I guess the question, if you mean like from a visual perspective, you can get really, really animalistic with things. The question is like whether or not you're trying to make something wholly unique, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I have an alien race that I made for a comic years back that I still like. They're essentially just Oriids, though. Like, I'm like, what if they were rocks, but kind of lizardish? But I didn't want them to just be lizards. So that was where I started. Like, I started drawing what would someone look like that was rocks. They still need to be vaguely humanoid, otherwise they won't really fit into the universe. So, yeah. It's kind of, you have to make concessions everywhere because, like, if you want to be... There's a term for it. I can't remember what it's called. Is xenobiology? Is that?
Yeah. If you're talking about like theoretical,
theoretical
biology.
Yeah, what could life look like not based on our life, right? So, yeah, just adding more limbs.
Xenobiology is that.
Even just adding more limbs, like, are they human limbs? Are they crab limbs? Most of the time, the things we draw have to be pulled from reference because it's really hard to just invent something out of whole cloth that makes any sense. Different body plans. Yeah, different body plans, but still, like, it's you're still taking pieces of something that we already know and rearranging them or changing things. Like, drawing somebody with a crab claw. Did you give them a human elbow or a crab elbow? Both of those things already exist. Does it still feel humanoid? Does it just look like a big crab? So you have a lot of freedom. And Dresden did a really cool thing because they were talking about like outer creatures. And he described one of the outer creatures he was fighting as vaguely man-sized, but covered in hair that was also its eyeballs and its limbs. And it's just like the way he described it was purposely to make your brain kind of hurt.
So that's where the Goloma comes from.
Yeah, kind of. So how do you make them not human? Do you need them to be not human? Like, that's the first big question you have to ask. Like, how human can they be? Should they be? Star Wars does a good job of, like, just throwing in the random weird alien thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to put a human in it for the movie if you need it to move anywhere, or you have to do it completely CGI. And those are two stipulations that can define a character. So, yeah. Feels boring AF otherwise. If elves are descended from the Fae, what does that have to do with it makes them different from humans? Lots of things. You can make them more plant-like. You can make them more animal-like. You can make them more eldritch in nature. Like, Pan's Labyrinth is a good example of that, right?
Oh yeah. Ooh, I love that. I mean, that is a brutal movie, but
I was thinking more narratively, but also helpful. Narratively, then that's just up to you, Like,
yeah,
it is, as a writer, it's hard not to write what you know.
Yeah, the same thing is true when designing creatures or characters.
Yeah, I'd go out there and I'd watch things that aren't, related to humans. Watch more sci-fi. Watch more nature documentaries and just start pulling from that.
Yeah.
The characters define the environment, and the environment defines the characters. If you have a whole planet of people that don't know what gravity is, probably not going to have an up. That sounds silly, but like that's a thing.
Yep.
What does a character look like without an up? And this is why I went to design school. So if you guys want to go ahead and pay tuition now, that would be great. imagining a subgroup of elves with hand eyes. I mean, if you want them to be elves, sure. That actually kind of bothered me with the Pan's Labyrinth thing. Like, it was meant just to look cool, but he likes to design stuff. Del Toro likes to design stuff that way, where it's just like it's weird on the eyes.
Yeah.
There's no reason for the hands to have the eyeballs, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
But it's weird and creepy. I like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the point was to evoke like real horrifying old fairy tales, right? And I think that they succeeded at that. Even though I have no idea if that creature actually exists in.
I really like the Fates. Like the Fates having to tuition paid. Thank you, Elvin Hair. I appreciate that. The Fates sharing an eyeball. I always thought that was fun. Was that in Hercules? I'm not sure which.
That is yes, but that's not supposed to be the Fates. That's supposed to be the Grey Sisters. Okay. Who are they're basically hags. They're Greek fae hags.
Because the Fates were just technically all the same person, not the same person, 3 different ages, and variable.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And like I'm not even sure. Like I've heard the Fates are supposed to be the daughters of Nyx, the goddess of night, but I've also like heard that they're supposed to be daughters of Hecate, who is the goddess of magic.
See, now I thought Hecate was. I think there's 2 different pantheons that got merged, right? To make why there's a confusion there.
Yeah.
Yes and no, because Greek mythology is honestly like hundreds of regional pantheons, kind of just being collectively merged in together by philosophers. And
yes,
poets.
And like there was no consensus between city-states. Like Greece was not a country. Greece was a collection of an ethnic group, right? And they all had different city-states. They all had different gods. They all had unique takes on myths, and a lot of their myths were designed to be propaganda. For example, the myth about Arachne being punished by Athena because for being too good at weaving. That is specifically a Spartan myth, because Athens said that basically that Athena was the best goddess because she was rational and kind and benevolent, and the Spartans were like, no, look at this, like our mythology says that she's just as petty and capricious as every other deity in the pantheon, so get over yourselves.
Funny. The idea of the fates is so different depending on the faith. It's kind of hard to keep track. Yeah, I mean, and that's to me, that's the good thing about it. So like when you're saying how do you make something not human-like? Like, how do you make it different? Like, humanity itself is so different depending on where you look at it. Like, just different countries, different cultures, different races. Like, you can do so much with the exact same thing, and not know. And so that's always been my argument with the Drow have to be in alignment because they come from Menzoberranzan. It's like your own lore doesn't fit that. Like, that's too specific. Drow should be multicultural, just in a whole.
Or at the very least, Dark Elves should be multicultural, and Drow are
a subset of
one
Dark Elves.
Very, very specific group.
Yeah, and I like that. I think that's fair. This barrel is inside of his body. I need to change this. Hold on. It looks like he's just lugging it around. Like, I don't know. The weight of the world's got me down. Luckily, I got this cask. Maybe I'll do something a little... He's a monk. So maybe I can give him more... I gave him a boring pose. That's unfortunately what I did, because I was so focused on the cask. Here's his back, so the circle has to start there, but it could go all the way out here. And the other part of it should be over here. There we go. Okay.
If we're talking about like xenobiology, I actually think that the Alien movie is a really good example, even though I'm pretty sure that the killer alien is not. It's supposed to be
It's a derived
genetically designed, right?
So Aliens is a really cool series, even though it's dark and weird and full of body horror. So it's one of those. It's like horses for me. Like I love them and hate it at the same time. So the aliens have a like the alien queen is the most alien-esque, like lots of limbs, has a weird protruding jaw, and then the smaller xenomorphs are based off of human. So like they're supposed to be the human derivative of it, which is interesting. So the ones that like in the movie that are genetically engineered are genetically engineered by basically just using humans over and over again to make them a specific type. So
Gotcha. Okay.
it's kind of a bastardization of like David being super fucking creepy. There is an alien type of thing that is normal, but there's also a human variant of it.
Okay. I've never had that
It's so
fully
complicated.
explained to me, but
So
like,
complicated.
yeah. But like that is a good example of how to make something kind of be human-sized, but be completely just off the wall, bonkers, crazy, not at all human, right? And like,
Still had to put a dude in it.
yeah,
They did a cool
100%.
job with the Queen on, I think, the second or third movie, because they're like, how can we make this more terrifying? They made the costume so that it was run by two people. So it's basically that way they could make it bigger and feel less human because it just had these huge arms and tentacles. That's like, there can't be a person in that. But that is part of the reason that like some animatronics or some CGI things don't look quite right. Is because we're used to seeing like how a person in a suit would look moving something. And when things all of a sudden start looking unhuman, it's like, that doesn't look right. That's not right. And that hurts my brain. So it kind of goes both ways. Us as humans want to see, how a person would move, even if it is fake, but
yeah.
Uncanny Valley goes all
But in terms of design, even the double jaw thing that they did for the alien, like that exists in nature. That is the way moray eel jaws work.
Yep.
They have an outer jaw and an inner jaw. And the inner jaw is only held in by muscle and ligament, and it's used so that they can bite with their primary jaw and then get a bite of the thing with their internal jaw, and they can continue to bite because they can't really chew, so they have to swallow a thing whole or tear chunks off of it. So having two mouths in their mouth helps them to hold on to stuff while they do that.
versus like the radula of or lamprey.
Yeah.
Like that is going to be more not human if you want to design something that way,
Yeah.
because those are non-jaw systems.
They have,
Horses.
and then, like, there's a reason that all of the Eldritch horror stuff is based off of like tentacles and sea lampreys and other like and anglerfish and other like super deep water or
Less familiar with it.
it's stuff that we're less familiar with, or stuff that's like we consider to be super proto and just weird.
It's alien, yeah.
Yeah, so that just you want to design a thing, all you really have to do is look at stuff that's alive that
Doesn't live in the same environment, maybe.
yeah, exactly, that is adapted for a more extreme environment, or doesn't live in anywhere near the same environment.
Something I love
meant
about
as you.
Fae, and they talk a little bit about it with like the Feywild, the time passes differently.
Yeah,
And there's a few schools of thought about that, and something I like about that's why I like elves being immortal, because like it doesn't matter to them. Like it doesn't matter that time passes differently, because the difference between a Fae, existing for 1,000 years, and then meeting their friend and walking through a door and all of a sudden 100 years pass and meeting their friends. It's the same. It's just like, oh, you were gone, but now you're back. That's cool. Like, how long has it been? It's like, I don't know. It's irrelevant. Time is irrelevant. So like that's a whole different way to build that. Like physically they could look exactly the same, but like just temporal understandings for characters can be way different. And I love that with the Garan I'm playing right now, because it's like Garan don't technically die. They just, their body dies and then their seeds germinate and they retain all the memories from their previous selves.
Yeah.
And so it's like physical existence is an inconvenience to a plant. It's just like, whatever. Like, oh no, I'm drying out. All right, well, I'll see where I end up. It's just, it's different. And I love that concept. It's like, oh, yep. How old are you? It's like, tree. I'm as old as the trees.
This body about 125.
Yeah.
Memory wise, about 1,000, 2,000, give or take a couple hundred years.
I was there when they wrote the words.
Don't quote me the old magic switch. I was there when they wrote it.
Yep. I love that quote. I'm a giant lion, Jesus. It's like, okay. If the Fae are immortal, why would they have any agency towards adapting in an ever-changing environment? I don't think they do. I think they don't care.
I think that is the way that they die, right? The world either changes so much that they can't adapt to it, or it changes so much that the body they have dies and they become something else.
What was the...
The only true way to kill a Fae is to forget about them.
I mean, that depends entirely on the lore you're pulling from, but I did enjoy that from
Merlin?
Merlin. Yeah. I don't love Queen Mab as a villain character, though.
I do. Oh, I love the
kind of
evil.
did her a little bit bitter. Yeah, I think that did her a little bit dirty.
I just love the idea that, like, the Fae are evil because they just disregard everything else. Like they literally saw the rise of humanity, and now any human that tries to talk to it, I was just like, who are you? Like, what are you? You're a bug. Get out of here. They just don't have time and patience for fast-living creatures.
Yeah.
Would you?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Being?
I think it's great. I also love the idea of, like, if Cthulhu and other, like, eldritch gods were so powerful, why would they ever listen to people? And someone made the example of, if a whole bunch of ants climbed onto your desk and started chanting your name, you'd probably pay attention to them. Oh, great Elden Beast, please give us that giant Cheeto. Okay. I kind of want to see what happens now. We wish to partake in the death fight with the other ant colony. Destroy them for us. All right.
Breaks up the magnifying glass.
Yeah, I was just like, sure.
Our God rains fire and death from above on our enemies. Worship them.
It's like, ooh, this got weird. Weird and dark. I love it.
Reminds me of Men in Black 2. Of where there's a scene where they're opening up the locker at the train station.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Our God returns.
It's like, what? The light giver.
I also love that he just takes it and closes the door. It's like, shit.
Yep.
Oh, God. Like a sloth going to the bathroom break and getting run over due to the sheer lack of reaction. Queen Mab is from an old English folktale made most famous by Shakespeare. Yep. Different these bugs can and will kill the elves if need be. I mean, you say that, but like, can you? I really like that with a lot of the, like, the deific the deities that you fight in D&D. It's like, yes, we've defeated the whatever, and it's like, yeah, but did you though? Like,
Yeah.
like unless your DM gives you like
you
plot
beat down
editing.
the illusory copy of myself. Yeah.
Haha, we've saved them for another 100,000 years. The god's just like, try again.
Yeah. It's like, I think the most immediate example I can think of is the adventure path they did of Frostwind Vale, where you fight Arlie, who's like not like a full-on deity, but like a demigod of winter and ice, and it's like still too powerful for you to like actually get rid of.
Yeah. Did you defeat winter? Maybe. You alright, Skip Cat? Got the coughs. Hey, buddy.
This frog head is too big.
It's not big enough.
Freaked me out a little bit. Also reading a little bit toad-like and not froggy enough.
It always supersized the body. I killed winter for no.
Just coughing up hairballs. Depends on how powerful you want your gods to be. To me, the gods are just new game plus for mortals. Stood the test of time, became legends. Yeah, I'm of the mind that the deities are static. Like, I also love throwing like I've never thrown a deity at my players. I've thrown like avatars, and I've thrown like Daughters of Urgathoa, which are like her main followers. But unless a player, like the story I'm telling for the player is them wanting to ascend to godhood, that's a totally viable story hook. It's a matter of I like having that cap of like, as powerful as you think you can become, there's always like the world beyond whatever you're in. That kind of is the cap.
Yeah, I prefer that as well. I think in-world limitations are really important for keeping tabs on the story.
The other thing that I run into with that though is like the Odysseus model of like, can a mortal piss off a god? I don't know. Like even if you as a mortal destroyed the avatar of a god that was actively doing something, like, would they care? They would just smite you, right? Like, why don't they just smite you? Well, my character's strong enough to. It's like, no, you don't get it. They would just smite you if they really gave a shit. So that's kind of my stance on it.
Yeah,
God is just a figurehead with good PR. Yeah.
It is. Like, I feel like for a deity, it is within their capabilities to unmake the planet you're on.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they can't completely disrupt the material plane, but a planet is fair game. So what makes you think that you, as a person who has to live on this planet still, could actively challenge the god?
Yep. And like Nathus is a cool example of that. That kind of mentality. He was a human who wanted so much knowledge that when he got it, he basically discovered that he could destroy everything or create it, and it made him like a nihilist. Just like, that would be pointless to do. Why would I do that? Like, having the power to do that also comes with the knowledge of not to use it, or not how to use it. And so I really like that as a story hook too, because then the deities, like, they could be acting to do something, but if you stop them, they're like, all right, well then I have to do it differently. But they're not, like I said, not the Odysseus model where it's just like, damn you, I'm gonna throw you into the ocean. It's like, that seems petty. That seems petty for a god. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fun. It's fun to kind of think about that stuff. Like, if a god could have stopped you, why didn't they? Why did they allow that to happen? Versus, do you really have so much power that you are ascending to that, and then now you have to deal with another god and have to deal with the pantheon, which is cool. It's another story who can push towards.
Yeah. I think it's actually really funny or it's even funnier to like think of the gods as this way, because it really means that whatever the deity, good or evil, like basically if they're interacting with your adventurers, it's not because they can't do the thing they're asking you to do themselves. It's because you're basically their reality TV show.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something I like especially with the undead, right? Like, so
Yeah.
the gods of undead, like, let the liches exist. Like, all they want is entropy. They're like, yeah, I just want everything to be exploded. So I don't care how it happens, but it's like, you're an evil person. It's like, I am not a person. I am just a cosmic force that wants everything to eventually die, and I will eventually win. Like,
Until then, I'm just going to enjoy the ride.
exactly. I think the tendency towards wanting gods to be unfathomable because it would be unearthing to a lot of people. Unnerving, is that what you meant? Or for them to just be some guy. Yeah, and I like I said, I like the Avatar model. Like, hey, no, yeah, I'm the god of death, but right now I'm this floating cat. That's fun. I had nothing better to do. Wizards could remake the Pantheon given enough resources. What's the point? Wizards, like the company, or like a wizard with the wish spell? Because yeah, like all of the. That's the point about writing, right? Like, any of those things could happen.
Whether or not the god of magic will allow it to happen is a different story.
Yeah.
Like, nah, just.
And I think that Mistra as a physical character is I think a kind of a plot device for wizards to do that, right? Like, and I think it's smart of them to do that, to say that at the end of the day there is a governing body that's preventing wizards from just doing whatever the fuck they want.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really smart. But you could write her out. I think we were talking to somebody who is writing a campaign where the god. Oh nope, never mind. I know who that was. I don't want to spread their stories around. I have conversations like this all the time with people about
there's
changing
a whole
pantheons.
book series where the goddess of magic is murdered and by wizards, and it's like they have to find a replacement, and a mortal woman who's also named Misha replaces her.
Right.
Like how Elevor, the Forgotten Realms god of death, becomes the god of death because he's also immortal. And yeah, it's like it's their adventure with Mistra and another god, I think, Derek. How they became gods in Forgotten Realms.
If you guys haven't seen, what is it? Not American Gods. American Gods is interesting. I liked American Gods. The other one.
Batman?
No, it is a Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman book. Good Omens. If you haven't read Good Omens or seen the show, super good, super fun.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I haven't seen the show. I've only seen clips, but I love it. It's one of the very few TV shows that's happening right now that I would actually take back my moratorium on consuming TV and actually watch.
I mean, I can send you a copy of the book if you want. It's really the book and the show are really, really closely tied, which I appreciate.
Yeah, it's always nice when they actually manage to do that.
And I got David Tennant to be the devil. Not the devil, but the demon dude.
Crowley.
I can't remember his Crowley. Like, what's his name again?
I love that the two of them are basically like gay icons.
The difference between gods and mortals is lifespan of the items and skills in their possession. Yeah, I mean, something I love is making. There's actually a whole feat class for it in some versions of making like god or divine inspired artifacts or weapons. And I love that concept of just like humans are over here like, I'm gonna make a vorpal sword that if I crit you auto die. It's like, that's neat. And then a deity could just be like, I'm gonna give you this sword that turns you into a level 20 druid. It's like that's a little bit different. It's a little bit different of a scale. Like, yeah, like because at the end of the day, the pantheons are fun, but like the DM is the power. Like the DM is the true god of any tabletop game. And so it's just like, you know what? Mm-hmm. Your character just doesn't exist anymore. What? It's like, yeah, I don't want you to play that one. We're gonna just remove that character from existence. Never happened. So I'm done with this character. I think I'm done. I'm gonna give him a tattoo. Give him like a head tattoo.
I'm almost done with this Froggy. I'm happy with the way this turned out.
There are, from a writing standpoint, I think Wizards has done a good job, and Pathfinder even more so, about giving the deities enough influence in the universe that they feel like the players could talk to them. And that's really important to me for tabletop RPGs. Versus a lot of like when you have books or movies, the deities in those universes are kind of still, they're more tangible to what ours are, of like, faith is important, but no one really knows. And so you can definitely do that in D&D, but like there's a certainty of like, yes, the gods do exist in this realm. And I think that's interesting. I really like that. You just validated Christianity in D&D. I mean, I think we've had that conversation before. I'm having very like deja vu vibes. So
yeah,
who knows?
I'm not sure if I've made this point before, but one of the things that I feel that like, or I agree that I like that about the presence and certainty of the deities within the realms of tabletop gaming. One of the things that I think that it kind of precludes, though, is that like I kind of think that a cleric's power shouldn't come from their own faith or belief. I feel like if the deities are certain, and the magic of clerics is an evidence for that their existence is a certainty, then it really undermines things to say that a cleric's power comes from within themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's the mechanical argument.
Yeah,
is a cleric a superhero that just happens to worship a god, or are their powers based on the deity, thus technically making them a type of warlock? Like that's always my argument for warlocks, right? It's like a warlock and a cleric are technically the same. It's just a matter of contractually obligation or faith. So. Yeah,
and I'm okay with paladins or champions, like their because like I'm okay with their power coming not from their god but from their oath and their conviction to their oath, because I love the idea of magical contracts and the idea that any contract can be magic, and that magic is basically like potential energy which can be unlocked via a contract.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing about the warlock warlock paladin specifically. Like, the power comes from the contract regardless of what the contract says, and paladins are just like, I am the champion of this cause, this is my contract that I'm making myself, and I'm taking up this thing. It's like, cool. Did you just like decide that, or did a snail trick you into that? Cough, cough, you're a warlock now. It's like, no, I'm a paladin. It's like, no, definitely not. Like, that's I love letting people play either of those and kind of screwing with it, like making them like, are you the bad guy here? It's like, am I the bad guy here? It's like, doesn't matter. Like,
different names, same sugar daddy.
Yep. I like the idea that there are gods that have champions or paladins and warlocks, like, especially if they're in the same party. That's really funny, because it's just like, I've dedicated my life to this. It's like, yeah, I just gave him the power because I thought it was funny. Like, lots of fun stuff. Lots of fun stuff. Let me get the color pole set back up. So I rolled a 22, and I'm doing Elesh Norn, which is fan art, which normally breaks the rules, but I talked to the person already and I know what they wanted. So we're gonna deal with that. people don't know who Elesh Norn is. She's an undead construct is what I'm gonna draw. So she's from Magic the Gathering. She's pretty awesome. God, I love the Dresden books. They're so good. So, Elesh Norn is a the Grand Cenobite. It's one of the Eldrazi, not Eldrazi. What am I saying? The weird
Phyrexian?
Yeah, one of the Phyrexians. Super creepy. Super cool design. The Phyrexians are great outsiders. Because they didn't just like, oh, I was born here. Like, they forcefully jump planes, and I like that concept. And it's a good story hook. It is a good story hook of just like, oh, hey, by the way, the neighboring dimension wants your dimension now. So have fun with that.
Which, that kind of reminds me, there's some stuff that I probably need to tell you about our game, Rook, because at least for your Conrasu character.
Oh, shit.
There's some stuff about the world that I have been neglecting to tell you.
Is a warlock just... That's fine.
Probably needs to know. Yeah.
That's fine. Once again, I made that character just as a... Like, he is a tank that, if stuff happens, wants to be there. So... he doesn't actually need, like, he's a plant. He's cool just hanging out until he's called.
Yeah, but like he is worried about the state of the universe and the borders of the universe, and there's something specific about the setting that I have realized it's kind of like that aspect of his character, and since you continue to like use that skill to gain information, there's something specific he needs to know about the universe. Cool.
I assume since it's still part of the Fae thing, I kind of suspected as much.
Yeah.
I like the idea of domains are finite, but those that are controlled them come and go, kind of like district managers. Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. And you have to worry about what happens when they break the contract. Thanos snap. No. Is a warlock just a cleric with a more specific contract? I mean, I think clerics don't really have contracts. I think clerics are... Specifically, clerics are... That's the best way to say this. Well, no, they're denominational for sure.
Yeah. No, I think of them as priests. Anything above level 10, I would consider to be like a high priest or priestess.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of, regardless, clerics are always more morality for me than anything else. They're like, oh yeah, I want to help people, And in the process of doing that, I'm able to do that because of this person, right? Like they're giving credit to other people, whereas a paladin will say, I'm doing this for this person, like for the deity, and that's why they're a champion. And the warlock is made a deal so that they're allowed to do the thing because of this person.
Yeah.
So it's really just like a cleric who loses faith, but still wants to help people can probably still do their thing, even though they feel like Pike has that kind of mentality all the time of like, oh no, I've failed, and it's like, hey, chill out, just keep doing your best. So you can be a priest, which I think would be like a very devout cleric, but clerics I think can be a lot more of just intentfully wanting to do a thing, whether that's like, you know, if you're a storm cleric or a like a Caden Killian. It's just like, just revel and be joyous and, you know, lust for battle. It's like the thing that you put your faith in, if it's fighting, that's great. Like, you know, you're not directly just like, I have healing spells. Like, no, I'm here and do this thing. I love it.
Yeah. I
Clerics
also
do things
think
because they believe in it. Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
I kind of think of clerics in relation to deities almost. I'm going to use the term, I don't mean the class from Pathfinder, like oracles, where they're kind of picked or kind of chosen from a crop of people to like, all right, you're going to have this power that you can do my will in the world.
You
if
like
we're going
them,
like theist.
You like it more that they're chosen. See, I would argue that's a paladin, but
same.
But if you want like the cleric abilities, I could see that, right? Like, that's more of like the ancestry of like the chosen one. Like you've been chosen by the deity to enact our will, which that makes sense for I think a cleric. You could make that argument.
Well, for me, that's why I specifically said like an oracle, where it's like they're kind of because to me paladins don't have a like a hotline to their god if they are choosing to worship the god. To me, they're like, I like the cause of this god, I'm going to take it up, and the process of me taking it up, I'm gaining power from it.
That still feels like a paladin, but I know what you're saying, and I
well, that's why I said paladin.
Okay.
But with cleric, to me, is like, I think clerics should have more of a hotline to the god. It's immune spells.
Yeah.
So sorry, finish your thought, but I want to throw my 2 cents into this.
So they're more they more have the word of the deity or the word of their thing versus the paladin, which is just enacting their will.
Yeah. Like
this is sorry, go ahead. Finish up.
Yeah. Because I also think clerics are more of a learned class because to me,
sure.
Like, to me, they're kind of like studious, in a way, like studious spellcasters, like how a wizard is. Because I think any prepared spellcaster is at some level of study.
I like that concept, like, because like that's their faith, right? Like them studying the thing that they're interested in makes them more. I really like the idea that clerics don't actually know the spells they're casting. So like, you ask your deity to heal somebody, and then the deity kind of like, oh yeah, that's a heal too. Here you go. Or
perform minor miracles.
Yeah, you just like the cleric isn't like, today I will prepare one to cure a disease. They just think when they're doing their prayer, like, please give me the things I need today. And then when they're out in the field, like, oh, this guy's sick. I hope I can heal them. Like, please heal them. Yeah. And then it happens. I love that idea, but it mechanically doesn't work, right? Like,
see that reads as paladin to me, because I'm pretty sure like that to me is lay on hands.
I could see that.
Yeah. The thing that I wanted to say is very much like what Corvus said. I very much think that clerics are people who were trained or trained within the faith. and like I get that specifically from the first edition Pathfinder rules or guidelines for how to age your character, because like they specifically have a chart that says that the age of your character should differ depending on your class, because there are like innate classes, like barbarian is something that you just know how to do that, and then there are like partially trained
Wizards should start older.
yeah, wizards, druids, and clerics and thieves all should start older because their skill set is highly trained, basically, was on the chart. And like barbarians and bards are like they can be quite a bit younger. They should still be adults, but they can be quite a bit younger because like I think it's like 7 to 5 years younger. Because their discipline, their basically the way they engage in combat doesn't require quite as much training, because it's felt more than trained.
Gotcha.
And I believe they had the paladin somewhere in the middle. So like a cleric is deeply trained in the faith. A paladin like joins a martial order and they get training, and I think that they don't know where their magic comes from. It just comes from prayer and dedication. And I think warlocks are I don't need the training. Part of the pact was I don't need the training. I paid the price, I signed the contract, I get the power.
Yeah, I like that. Let me catch up on chat.
My parents were rich. I get to jump ahead in grades.
Oh yeah,
exactly. Yeah, catch up on chat. I'm gonna roll for the next one.
What are you drawing right now? So this was a undead construct that is based off of a Leshen Warden.
Yeah, and I just finished up a Gripply monk assassin.
Does it mean that warlocks don't believe in who they serve? I mean, they don't have to, but also who they serve, like. Belief might not be a requirement.
Yeah, like that's the point. The point is they have a contract that gives them power, and their belief doesn't matter. It's whatever the terms of the contract say that are important.
Yeah. King Arthur, and kind of a warlock.
Yeah, 100%. So if the contract requires worship, then I mean that works. They could still be a warlock, but they could just as easily be a paladin or a cleric. In that regard, it really does just come down to training, at least in my mind. Yeah.
Then perhaps where would a zealot barbarian fit into faith? I mean, so that's a good point. Like, I think there's a lot of confusion about. This goes back to the eloquence bard, right? Like, what kind of bard do I want to be if I want to be gentlemanly? It's like, you can be a priest of a religion and follow a deity in the game and be a barbarian. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. Yeah. It's just a matter of, like, that's why with clerics, their power just comes from their deity because they're devoted to it or they study it or whatever it is. But, like, they can be a scientist. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's what your character is thematically and what your character is mechanically can be two different things. Logically inconsistent. Yeah.
Being a clergyman is more of a profession than like a class.
And we really should not get bogged down in semantics. Like all of this should be basically a spectrum, all right? Like the lines that define things should not really be. You shouldn't really be beholden to them. I think the point should be there isn't really that big of a difference between a paladin and a warlock.
That's really what I'm trying to get at. It's like
ultimately they're the same thing, so don't worry so much about it. And the same thing is true with a divine barbarian, right? Like, don't worry so much about it.
There's nothing stopping your barbarian from having healing spells or following the teachings of a pacifist god.
Yeah.
You still get mad and punch stuff real good. Barbarians are a class that are based on innate functionality, which I like.
Yeah. Same with sorcerers.
You can see that's what I was going to say. Yeah, so like sorcerers and barbarians are actually more similar than not.
Yeah.
which I like.
So like your divine soul sorcerer is like, that is really different from a cleric, right? Like they get divine magic,
That's
but
an
there's
oracle.
nothing stopping them from being there's nothing stopping them from being an atheist, right? Like their magic is based on their blood and the power their blood carries, not based on any sort of pact or training or faith.
Yep.
Anyway, what does an 11 get me?
Let me look. An illithrid bard of eloquence. Oh, I think that was the one we were talking about. Who juggles with his tentacles. Quite a friendly man.
Illithid bard.
Illithrid bard. Illithrid. I think it's one of the big beefy ones. I feel like I've drawn this character before. Have we drawn this character before? Burning, hello, Welkman. Hash Brown, hello as well. Paladins equals clerics equals warlocks and sorcerers and wizards and druids. Everything is either a fighter or a wizard or a monk. Fair enough. I'd go as far as to say that monks and fighters are the same, plus wizards can learn to swing a sword, so everything is everything. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it, but okay. There's a term for that. The carcinization of all the D&D classes. Everything
welcome to D&D, where all the classes are made up and the points don't matter.
Yeah. I'm sure if you go back to 1E, everything breaks down into healer, fighter, mage. Essentially, yeah. Kind of prefer the specialty of 3.5 and 5E introduced. Yeah, and that's fine. I think 3.5 was a good medium of options, and that's really what I like is options. But there's also a lot of people I know that are building new game types that essentially, like, no class, just pick things, and it's like that's fine. Like that's a different playstyle, which can be really liberating. But
yeah,
I think a lot of people also just like having their characters almost made for them, which is kind of the RPG game mentality, like video game mentality. Monks is exclusively mechanical, distinct from being mana casters, fighters, steel casters, wizards. I mean, Hashy Brown, that's 4th edition. You essentially just explained 4th edition. So. Everyone wizard, everyone fighter. Being faithful doesn't seem to inherently yield power. Also, doesn't mean that clerics don't need to believe in God when they work for it. Yeah, you don't need to. There's a really good. What was it? The superhero mentality is what I was talking about a little earlier, and what I mean by that is, can any Church of Sarenrae cast a healing spell? Any priest of Sarenrae? Like, is it a level of devotion, or is it part of the job, or is it inherent that people can cast healing spells and they just happen to work at the Sarenrae temple? So, like, those are just those. There's no answer to those. Those are questions that you have to answer for your universe. Yeah. That's just that's how you have to kind of define your magic system. And a lot of people do it different ways, and I think they can be really fun depending on how you want it to work. If you want your clerics and your healers to be way more powerful and do that kind of like superhero thing, then yeah, it doesn't really matter where their gods are. It's just the fact that they're one of the few people that can cast these spells, and that can be really powerful in itself. Versus, oh, I got cursed. I'm gonna go just down the street to the church and have them fix me. What types of constructs are we drawing again? I didn't hear you. Undead. It's an undead construct. GURPS is all about no class. Yeah. Go check out Alesh Norn. Stupid Magic the Gathering being weird. What was it? The next Magic the Gathering that's coming out is something else I love, and it makes me upset. They just did Lord of the Rings. And the next one is... They already did Transformers, so it's not like they can get much weirder. I don't remember. Is it that everyone has managed and the classes are broken up by how they channel it? Sounds like a black clover. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's like the more tribal aspects of music we're listening to. It sounds vaguely African. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think that when they made the classes, they actually thought that much about. I don't think that they built it that way. I don't think they worried about specifically how the power come from. They were more worried about flavor.
Yeah.
And so all of this stuff were basically pushing onto it after the fact. Which is why you don't need to worry about it so much.
Yep.
Just figure out a way to make what you want to make, and no rules, just right.
No rules, just right. It's a dangerous.
Oh, absolutely.
Cypher system does a classless really well and love it. I'll have to look at that. I think that I would depend on how common curses are in your world. If you can be cursed as often as people get colds, it might just be over-the-counter restoration scrolls. Well, that's a good thing. Like, if curses are super common, is that because magic is super common? Like, yeah, maybe people can heal.
Yeah.
It's your choice. In a world where everyone can be healed for nothing, is there, sickness, disease in your world?
My answer is usually yes, because
it was an open-ended question.
Yeah. Because the reason, because money exists, and as long as money exists, people are gonna exploit their skills at the expense of other people. So that's the way I do it. There's no reason not to have a utopia. You just have to make your people not be asshats.
That's kind of how 4E was. Like, magic was so prevalent and everywhere that, like, if you lived in the wizarding cities, like, it was a utopia. It was amazing. And the problem was that there were people that, wanted to control it, and that's what caused conflict. There's tons and tons of fighting. Infighting, basically. Like, that's a really cool something I want. Sorry, let me start that sentence over. Another reason I like the immortal elves concept is, like, elves can die, but there's no reason for them to. It's like, oh, that sucks. Yeah. So, like, an elf dying is like a tragic event, which I think is interesting. Thinking of curses and curse. As DMs, how hard do you make removing curses from your PCs and NPCs? I've seen both just a spell and a whole adventure to remove a curse. I want to know your opinions. Yes, so both. I do both. And the reasoning behind it is if the curse is something that is, like, given to you by just a mob, easy to remove. Like, there's a DC skill for that. That's mechanical. If you want a curse to be a story hook, then it's usually not removable by normal means. That's what I'll do. Because, like, if you give somebody a Berserker Axe, I think the DC is like 18, 19, something like that. Or someone with a remove curse spell to just make it not effective. So that can become a story hook. But at the same time, if your story hook can be completely shut down by one D20 roll, it's not a good story hook. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, generally, my opinion for that is if you want it to be a story hook, allow spells like remove curse to temper the effects or hamper the effects. So this sword is cursed. I cast remove curse. It's like you feel it weakening, but it's not removed, right? Like you're going to have to find, and then that's where the story hook takes over. But you don't just like, no, can't remove it, because that's just going to make people mad.
Yeah. In that regard, I find it useful to use kind of like a say that big story hook curse is like poison you by degrees.
Yeah.
So a remove curse like lessens the effect of the curse by 1 degree. but can't completely remove it.
So,
And that's usually how I deal with curses like vampirism and lycanthropy, because I think that those should be like really, really big curses.
yep, I agree. Those are good story hooks.
Yeah.
So the other thing with that though is if you want to run it that way, don't be throwing werewolves at your party unless you want to, derail the campaign.
yeah.
DM things.
I like to look at. I think mummy rot is a really good example. Do they have mummy rot in 5e?
I believe so.
Okay.
It's not the same. I think it just makes you like if you die, you turn into a mummy,
Yeah.
and that's about it. It might give you disadvantage for like an hour or something. Can't
Oh,
remember.
really? Okay. So it's way more debilitating in Pathfinder. So it's always been like you get it from contact with the mummy. If you fail, I think it's a fortitude save, and and if you get cursed by mummy rot, like you will eventually die, and it counts as both a disease and a curse, and you have to use both remove curse and remove disease. You have to have successful rolls after casting those spells in order to remove the curse. And like I like that because it feels like it has higher stakes. But also like if I'm going to do mummy rot as a story hook, I still want it beefier than that.
Okay, so 5e is a DC 12 Constitution saving throw, so it's a low saving throw. But
Oh yeah, that's nothing.
the target can't regain hit points, and its hit point maximums are decreased by 10, 3d6, for every 24 hours that elapse. If the creature's target is reduced to 0, the target dies, and the body turns to dust, and the curse lasts until it is removed by remove curse spell. So it just, you wither and die, but it's a really low DC, so... And it has a frequency of once per day.
Yeah. So like my point in bringing that up is like mummy rot is a really cool curse, but like it's a good example of like a low stakes curse that's not meant to be a story hook, but one that you could beef up relatively easily if you need a story hook.
Yeah, if I were going to do that as a story hook, I would do it as like a D6 or a D4 per day. Just so that like it takes a long time and they feel it slowly over time.
Yeah. Got to give them more opportunities to.
Yeah. You have 2 weeks to live.
Undead.
Yeah, exactly. But then I would make it so that like, oh yeah, no, you have to find this specific thing to remove it. My spell says it'll cure whatever. It's like, well, your spell book is wrong.
Yeah.
This is not normal mummy rot. Or you can cast remove curse to not take the damage that day. Or remove some of the negatives. That'd be fun too. Story hook's fun. I'm done with this one. This is done. This is
very cool.
Not my I mean, it's kind of my design, but like, this is a character. This is essentially fan art, but whatever. Rules.
Juggling with your face tentacles is really hard to draw.
Fun thing about juggling is that you really only ever have 1 ball in your hand, 2 balls in your hand.
Yeah, but the posture for catching is kind of important.
All right. I need to get more water and put some drugs in my eyeballs. So I'm going to take a quick break, just like 2 minutes. We're going to do red next. Actually, I'll let you guys vote. I'll let you guys keep voting. I will be right back. And then I will roll the dice and we'll keep going. I'll back. Hang tight, everybody.
see. If you have 6 face tentacles, how many rings can you juggle?
Okie dokie. Yeah, I got pie. What of it? All right. Welcome back,
I
everybody.
didn't say anything.
And roll. I'm gonna get myself some water, put some drugs in my eyeballs. Yeah, that's not the weirdest thing I've said this year, so that's fine.
True. It is not the weirdest thing you've said this year.
Okay. Heep, heep. That's a good pose. You start over, I think?
Yeah, I've started over like twice. This is my third attempt.
Squiddly bits. Okay, we're down to 29. A little D10 and D20. 9 plus 8. Bone forged. Necromancer warforged. Made of bone and ivory. The Bone Boy. Boy with the bones. That might be a Hashy Brown comment. Got some Nitro Pepsi to try it. I really like the nitrogen aspect of it. I just wish it wasn't Pepsi. I mean, you can get nitro coffee, you can get nitro beer. It's an inert gas, so you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, what is the point of adding nitrogen to everything? Is it just to prevent the oxidation?
Yeah. It's supposed to be a little creamier, and it's a little heavier, I think.
Interesting.
So it has a different mouthfeel. But yeah, it's essentially the same. But it does make the foods taste a little different. Because our bodies are really cool at detecting that shit.
Yeah.
Okay, Bone Boy. Woo, Bone Boy. Yeah, Bone Forge. So using it in soda, it makes for a smoother drink than the carbon dioxide. Because the bubbles are smaller, right? Is that how it works? Maybe it's not denser. It might be... Carbon dioxide is a big molecule. Carbon dioxide also creates carbonic acid, which is bitter. Oh. It makes a denser foam, I guess is what I should say.
Okay.
Not that it's a denser molecule.
Smaller bubble is denser foam.
Yeah. Bone Boy. Bone Robot, here we go. You all know I can only draw one type of robot. I mean, I just drew a Leshnorn. I feel like it's almost the same, so maybe I'll just do another variant. Start RoboCop. RoboCop is a messed up premise. I'm just gonna put that out
yeah, 100%.
There's a lot of ethical violations in that movie.
Yeah, RoboCop is about modern necromancy.
Yeah.
Change my mind. And not white necromancy, where they got the permission to use the remains, like
capitalist
crazy.
Necromancy.
Yeah.
Well, you work for us now, and now we own your body.
Excuse me, I don't think that's how that works. Nope, it does. See, right here.
Mix it denser foam. Excellent words. Yep, welcome in, animator. My roommate doesn't drink soda at all, so I feel a little crazy for being picky about the kind of stuff, but I do wish craft soda was as robust as craft beers. Amazing satire. It's pretty good satire. Necromancer armor, multi-class. It's, yeah. There's a lot of weird sodas. Okay, welcome back. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, it's fine. I was interrupting you, so.
There's a lot of interesting weird sodas out there these days, but I don't drink many of them.
Are there still like the really, really nasty sodas that got really popular in the
What, like bacon soda?
Yeah, like
Yes.
you remember in the early 2000s, where I think it's John's soda.
Yeah.
They did some weird
Jones.
stuff.
Yeah, Jones.
Yeah, Jones. Yeah, the tofurkey and gravy.
Oh, I didn't try that one.
No, it's bad.
Yeah. So they also had some really good sodas.
Oh,
Berry.
absolutely, absolutely.
I think the problem is you don't live in a Mormonized place where the craft scene has to get creative. No one's buying our craft beers. What if we make them non-alcoholic? Way to do it. You awake now, Skip Cat?
So,
Hello.
Dread, when you mentioned like corporate necromancy, that's weirdly a premise in one of the guilds in Ravnica.
Yep.
That doesn't surprise me, right? Like,
like they'll allow you to take as much loans out from them as possible, but like with the stipulation that you have to work it off as a ghost.
Kevin the Necromancer played one of his characters like that, where the servant of Sandro, he'd go and he would, like, he was a necromancer and he like handed out pamphlets and it was like reverse life insurance. And so if you took this plan, he would give you gold and he's like, but I get your body when you die. And they're like, I guess?
Yeah.
So that was really funny. A lot of different players would just like, yeah, I'll take 200 gold. I don't care. Wait, what do you do with my bodies? You know, whatever. Oh, you know.
becomes raw materials. I use it for whatever I need to use it for. The Rook you juggle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it true that you want to not watch where the thing you're juggling is gonna hit your hand, but watch the top of the arc?
That's what I do, yeah.
Okay. Good.
I kind of stare off into the void. Let my eyes go a little numb. Because if you're trying to track one thing, like, there's 3 objects, so you have to just have a general feel for where they are. I've really struggled to juggle 4 without doing some shenanigans. Like I could probably juggle 5 more easily than I could juggle 4, because it's a different.
Really?
Yeah.
So odd numbers have a different rhythm.
Yeah, they have a cascade. With 4, you have to either do a pass over where you're handing things from, like, this is a weird thing to talk about. You either have to have 2 different throws, to where you have 1 ball in this hand, 1 ball in this hand. Either have 2 in the air and just hand this one over, or you have to toss this one and have 1 in the air. So you're doing like a cycle. versus a cascade, which works with 3. You have 1 in the air at all times, and then when this one comes down, you throw this one to the other hand. And so it's a crossover. I'm good at that. I can do the crossover. Or I can do 2 balls in one hand, where you just alternate. And I can do that twice with 2 hands. Not very well, but I can. But I can't make 4 cascade. It just doesn't work. So I'm not great at that part. And that's just a speed game. But with 5, you just have to have 3 balls in the air and then start the cascade. And it's really hard to keep them all up in the air.
Interesting.
It's a fair point.
I
also don't think the craft soda is worth moving back there. That's fair too.
Yes, I would agree with you. Anyway, I just needed to know about the juggling thing so that I could get the eyes correct.
I used to juggle on my way to work. I had to walk to work, so I'd juggle. So I got pretty good at. You watch where you're walking, and just kind of use your peripheral to see where the objects you're juggling are. Which is its own thing. I was one of those weird kids that I did a lot of things out of spite. Like my sister could whistle. And I was like, fuck that. I'm gonna learn how to whistle. And I just taught myself how to whistle just to prove to her that I could do it. And then I had a friend who was kind of an asshole. And he could juggle. And I was like, if he can juggle, I can juggle. And so I taught myself how to juggle.
I mean, spite is an excellent motivation.
Yeah. It was also in a setting in the Warframe game where there were people who had parts taken from them as payoff loans, even their heads, which then replaced off screen. That happened in Doctor Who as well. It's kind of interesting. So,
the Cybermen?
No.
Oh.
No. There was just there was a group of people that would steal your body and be courteous enough to leave your head alive. It's like, yeah, okay.
Weren't they specifically like a religious monk order?
There was, yeah. There was I think what they would do is they would the order would donate their body, but it was a scam for people to basically get their bodies kidnapped, and then they're like, oh, yep, they joined this order, and they're like, I just got mugged. They stole my kidneys and my body. So. I'll be playing a donkey centaur necromancer soon that'll use her familiar's former tormentor as her main zombie. Gotcha. No, not that late. Broken lizard. I don't know if I like this headpiece.
I mean, necromancy as revenge is pretty good story-wise, but also like maybe even more morally
dubious,
questionable than.
I mean, did you murder them? Because that's the first. Like, once you murder somebody, I don't know if necromancy makes it more evil or not. Like that. But that could be that goes into the whole gray area of the murder hobo anyways. So
yeah. If it's like, I got revenge on my bully by murdering them and enslaving their corpse for eternity.
Like, why are you here? Oh, this guy made me mad, so I chopped up his parents and turned it into chili and fed it to him. Jesus Christ. South Park knows what's up. Out there. You know how to make stuff real weird real fast. I think my favorite Critical Role moment is when Taliesin calls out the party for being murder hobos. as Caduceus. Just like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. We killed those guys? And then everyone's like, oh no, what have we done? It's like, yeah.
Are we the baddies?
They attacked us first. Like, they had questionable words and you murdered all of them. There's a difference. I always like the that kind of mentality for... It's a great intro, right? Like, starting a bar fight is a great intro, especially if you feel like righteous vindication for it. That's kind of like the 80s. Walk into a bar and beat up some skinheads, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a great hook for a story, but it's like, you purposely went somewhere and started a fight. You're kind of the asshole in the situation.
Yep. But they deserved it. It doesn't mean maybe.
Yeah.
It
like,
doesn't mean that your actions were morally correct.
Firefly is, I think, one of my favorites of that, because like, not only did Malcolm Reynolds go into a bar he knew he would start a fight in, he went to a planet to find a bar to start a fight. Like,
Yep.
it was so many extra steps on a specific day. He's just like, this is it, I'm gonna go here just to fight people. Kind of the asshole.
Okay, Mal.
Mm-hmm.
You need
Kinda
to
the
talk to
aggressor.
somebody.
Firefly would have been a much more different story if everybody had got therapy.
Oh, 100%.
But I think that's what makes a good, like, space western.
Yeah. I would argue that the point, or the thing that makes a space western is the fact that the entire setting is garbage and all the people in it are garbage. And the people that you follow are not good people, they're just trying their best to survive because they can't afford, like, that's the thing about the Wild West, right? That's the thing about cowboy films in general. Nobody's good.
Yeah.
Everybody's just trying to survive, and you're just following the story of one person who may or may not be morally slightly inclined towards law than the other people in this setting.
They did an interesting thing with the Ballad of Bubba Suggs. Is that what it was?
Josie Wells?
No. This was a new one. It was on Netflix a few years back. It was like an anthology of little. It's the show where the gif of James Franco getting hung and saying like, "Oh, is this your first time?" It's that anthology.
Oh.
The main character, the person that like introduces the story, is a white hat cowboy. So like, he's in full white. He's clean somehow, even though he's been on the dusty trail.
Mm-hmm.
And he's whistling and telling the story, and he turns out to be a bad guy. Like, he just turns out to be just another outlaw. But but that's the point. Like, it's kind of it is a gray area because everyone's just kind of out doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Even the white hats are sometimes.
Is it the guy who played in Holes as the camp counselor?
Maybe.
Playing...
I know him from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Scruggs? Scuggs. I don't remember.
I was like, I can either pull from Holes or Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I'm not sure where Rook will land on this one. So
I've never seen Holes. I should probably see Holes.
It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just never saw it.
It's like when Shia LaBeouf started his actual kind of serious acting career.
How easy would Pathfinder work for a Firefly themed campaign? Starfinder. It exists. Go for it. Have fun.
Yep.
Buster Scruggs, yeah. Try to be the gray morally character, but every time I always end up being the party one. Bummer.
Starfinder is almost tailor-made for just about any space western.
Yeah.
Although it might, like, there are enough different races that it probably does Star Wars better than Firefly. Firefly, you only have humans.
There's also like the kind of fantasy element to it. Like there's an equivalency of magic and stuff in there.
Yeah.
So Star Wars might be better if you consider Jedi wizards. But
which I do.
But to be fair, Firefly is also, it's in the Whedonverse, so like vampires exist. Just gonna put that out there somewhere. I'm such a fan of that theory. That all of the Whedon verses
happen
related.
Yeah. What does a 12 get me?
An old satyr knight who still has the strength to fight, but should clearly retire. He has a full beard. Full beer butt?
Beer gut?
It says tries hard to grow a full beer. Actually, it says bear. Full bear, but can't fully do it. So it could be beard. It could be beard.
I'm thinking beard.
But can't fully do it. I would think beard. I'm going to go with beard. He might be trying to grow a bear. I don't know.
Topiary bear.
Yeah. Old satyr knight. A man of La Mancha. But as a satyr. Would Jedis be blade singers? Jedi could be. We could do it that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
They could be any sort of spell sword.
Yep. I honestly think they would be more sorcerers than wizards, but they do have to study and stuff, so.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's not book learning.
Yeah, I don't know if Lucas was ever fully set on like if it was biological or.
I mean, yeah,
like purely biological or kind of like learned.
Because the new movies talked more about the midichlorians, which that would be your ancestry, like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that would mean all wizards are, because people can't learn to be Jedi. But there were non-Jedis that like served the Jedi temples. That's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't have access to the Force in the same way.
Like that librarian lady.
Yeah.
Like, well, if it's not in our records, it must never existed. Like, prideful much.
That was the point.
She was so snippy about it. It's like, but if it's not in our records,
now you know how the rest of the universe felt about the Jedi. Welcome to the Sith, I guess.
Yeah. People hating the Jedi was justifiable.
Yeah. Especially, Palpatine had a whole political movement of fuck the Jedi. But not really, because we like them because they're powerful. I hate the Pope, except when he doesn't murder me for not saying that, you know? I like the Star Wars universe. It's interesting. It's interesting because of how big it is, I think, is the real thing I like about it. It's not just like, oh yeah, humans are here. It's like, no, there's just infinite galaxy of people trying to coexist. I really dig that.
Like, coexist or conquer everybody else.
Well, see, there's not like, that's the thing about it is that like there's slavers, so that's one thing. There's pirates, but like there are very few planets where the race that lives there started there. Like there are a handful. There's a handful of them, but most of them, like this is so far past galaxy colonization that they're like second generation civilizations, which I just think is interesting. It's not something that people deal with, because most of the time when we see this, we see like the Wild West of space colonization. Like things are just starting, like with what's it called? Oh no, I totally forgot it.
I have no idea.
Yeah. They just made a sci-fi series about it that just ended. It's one of my favorite book series. This is really strange. Doesn't matter.
Killjoys.
The Killjoys. No. You're seeing humanity like as it's trying to go out into the universe, or like there's one or two colonies, right? You don't usually see things after Earth isn't even a thing anymore that people think about.
Right.
So
this is it's long past post colonization.
yeah. I always wanted to play a Star Wars RPG as a Gungan. I mean, you can. It does exist.
Yep.
Cool
I'm
part
pretty sure there's several versions of Star Wars.
If you do the accent, you deserve to be kicked out of the table immediately.
I wasn't playing it on my own role.
Just be aware of that.
I haven't played enough to find my own role-playing archetype, but I feel like I'm always the DM's pet because I just want to talk to NPCs and realize my party's misadventures. I hate it when people talk to my NPCs. I want the players to talk to each other, and the NPCs to be adjacent.
Same.
so yeah. I don't know what that's like.
Alright.
My players love to be like, so what's your favorite book? And it's just like, I don't fucking read. Like that. All of my universe is full of just idiots. Because I don't want them to have backstories.
I'm illiterate, thanks.
They always, my friends always try to like befriend a guard. They're like, hey, can we convince the guard to go do this? It's like, no, that's why they're paying you. Like, why would they pay you and then do your job for you? Get the hell out of here. I don't like it. So I can do the accent.
I will still want to befriend a guard.
It happens every time. It happens every time.
I want to befriend druids, dragon lizard folk that we talked to or 2 Saturdays ago.
Yeah.
Was I there for that? I don't remember that.
Yeah, you were. She was the person you guys were talking to. The half dragon lizard folk sorceress who
the detective?
was giving you guys information about her nightmare that has led you to the sewers.
Gotcha.
Yep. You were outside.
Yeah, I didn't
doing
care about that conversation. Doing my fate thing.
Yeah.
You're doing your Mary Sue thing.
I really like that idea. It's so funny to me. They have a character like that in the new DuckTales cartoon. It's one of Uncle Scrooge's nephews, and he's just really lucky. So lucky that like Uncle Scrooge doesn't want him to be near him because he always saps the luck out of everyone around him, and so like bad things happen to Uncle Scrooge. And this guy, like during one of the episodes, he loses it, and so some guy's like, oh, here's your check, and he's like, what? He's like, it's $10 for the sandwich, and he's like, how does this work? How does money work? Because like things just always happen. Like he's the 100th customer, or somebody like, oh hey, I found $10 on the ground. It must be yours. Oh yeah, cool. Pay the bill. So I like that kind of Mr. Magoo energy. And Pathfinder has a kind of a side-eyed way to do that with some of the feats I take. I think it's funny.
I haven't taken full advantage of it or played into it super well thus far.
Yeah. I just switched it up because like before when I tried to do it, I was using the time thing, and so it was supposed to be like I choose when I just want to like redo something and then you punish me for it later. But it's a little different now, so yeah, we can play with it some more.
Yeah. I don't like to punish my players, so like when you did use that ability, I always like immediately forgot about it. I was like, well, maybe there will be consequences, but probably not.
Yeah. Because alternatively, I mean, it's just the luck feat if you do it that way. So like it's not overpowered, but it's an Oracle dedication, so it's supposed to have a little bit of a drawback. Let's see what's going on here. I learned quickly that if you do something silly with an NPC, most always players will latch onto them. Yeah. I don't understand a nice... Don't introduce a nice... You don't want to be a whole person.
Don't introduce a nice character if you don't want players to interact with them?
Yeah, I'm
Something like
a
that?
little confused by that one. Ever had a keen mind PC? Those are a unique challenge. I don't think so. I mean, it's essentially the keen mind is really just giving you, you don't have to roll for retention.
Yeah, it's a feat that lets your players metagame and be like, hey GM, like
Yeah.
this says that you get to tell that basically I get to pump you for information you've already given us.
Yep.
And you have to be honest about it.
And the other thing with that, I actually kind of like it because then as a DM, I don't have to wait for someone to roll or ask for something. It's just like, you would remember this.
Same.
Because remembering something doesn't necessarily mean that you put things together. But if someone's rolling for, like, I want to see what this door does, roll me the dice, you're looking at the door now, like, you know this symbol. You saw it earlier today. It was on this person's crest. And you're just like, oh, like, it lets you kind of feed them information directly without having to wait for them to ask questions, which is cool. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. And I really do use it for you would know or remember this,
Right.
especially when I like, because especially if I'm playing like a story or roleplay heavy game, which I am wont to do, like I will dump a lot of information on my players, and I know that, I mean, I repeat myself quite often, so there's a good chance that they can have the information they need in their notes, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they can recall everything that I've info dumped on them. So I like it because it's useful for me to be like, okay, so you remember specifically this thing that I told you about.
Yeah.
And if that's potentially relevant here now. It really does allow me to keep things moving.
Yeah. I had 2 guards, both named Greg or something, I don't remember, and the players immediately wanted to know everything. Yep, I've done that. I've done that too. Where you accidentally say, like, wait, wasn't that guy's name also Paul? It's like, maybe? I don't remember. Because I'll, like, offhandedly give them. Yeah. Write down
there can
names.
be more than 2 people named Paul in your world.
Yeah, anytime a player asks you something about an NPC, start writing it down. Because you're not going to remember, and they are. I'm a party member voted most likely to befriend the enemy. I mean, yeah, you can do that too.
I don't
Alert.
mind befriending the enemy. I do tend to get a little frustrated with, I want to tame that monster and make it my pet.
Yeah, my way of getting around that is just straight up telling people, like, you can't do that in this game.
Yeah.
Because if they do want to do that, that needs to be its own game type. And you have to gamify it. Because, like, handle animal and speak with animal does not mean you immediately get pets. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
So you're already...
It means you can maybe convince the animal to not immediately attack you this turn.
Yeah. Kevin the Necromancer did a really funny thing because one of his players would constantly try to summon rats. And everywhere he'd go, he's just like, I'm going to summon the rats. And he's like, you try. And he rolls the dice and he's like, 1 rat shows up. And then when it sees you don't have food, it leaves. He's like, oh, damn it. So he kept poking at him. It was really funny. Tell PCs use Keen Mind to make the DM tell every detail of what has happened in the entire game again and again. That is toxic playing, and that's not how Keen Mind works in my mind. If a player did that, like, can you retell us this? Like, your character remembers. Yep. You vividly remember everything that happened. The other thing about that is if the players don't remember, then you can change things, which is really funny. I've done that too. Not maliciously, but, like, I've had to do that. It's just because everyone was confused, and I was like, no, this is how it happened. Moving forward, that's what happened. So, our DM had an NPC called Greg, then the Barbarian's Axe made him Cur and Egg. Got it. You meet my 2 gangster friends, Igor and Igor. Igor and Igor. There is, like, a leaf blower outside my house now. What is happening here? You guys hear that? That is so loud.
I can't.
What is happening?
Roderick and Frederick.
Apparently they're cleaning up the storm drains today.
Yay!
Garagosh. I made this Bone Boy a little too meaty, I think. I'm also taking a Brandon Lee Mulligan break and eating some almonds.
What, you don't have a mouth on your back that somebody can shovel salami into?
Do not. I do not.
I mean, that would be the dream, right? Assuming you could still eat salami.
I want nothing of that. I can't eat a salami as well, but like, I'm happy where my mouth is. I'm just gonna be bone droid beef. I mean, if you're not using necromancy to animate the bones, you gotta have the muscles. You gotta have the muscles.
Or something muscle-like.
4 goblins animating a skeleton. I'm surprised there's not more like Weekends at Bernie's characters anymore. It used to be a thing.
Probably because people don't know what Weekend at Bernie's is.
That's fair. It's another one of those college movies where 2 random dudes decide to break federal law to comedic effect.
Yeah. I am very curious, actually, how Weekend at Bernie's has aged.
Probably not well.
Very probably not well. I mean, what about Bob has not aged particularly well either.
I really liked that interview with Kumar. Can't remember his last name.
Who?
I'm trying to remember. Hal Penn. I really like, yeah. He was Kumar and Harold and Kumar. He did an interview. He did an interview talking about like essentially that movie wouldn't be made now.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's fine. Like he still loves that he made the movie, and they made a whole bunch of like really weird jokes that are offensive, and he's like, that was the point when we made it, but it was also like culturally that was the culture of the time. Like it sucked to live in that time frame, but that's why he did it. And he would love to make more movies, but he couldn't make those movies the way they were back then, and he wouldn't make them the same way now. And that's I think the biggest thing to remember for a lot of people is like, how do I say it? I don't want to say like the problem with cancel culture, but like the thing about cancel culture is if you look at something that was made a long time ago and then decide to judge a person now for it, it doesn't give you the real scope of why that movie was made and how it was made and when it was made. So it's good to be able to see those things and understand why things were accepted then, and now see how we've changed and why that's important. Why it's important that movie wouldn't be made the same way. And people get upset. They're like, oh, you can't make these movies anymore. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't. Like, you shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
there was a time when they were okay and they were enjoyable then, and they're not okay anymore.
And the big thing was, like, people were hurt by it at the time.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that now. We can talk about it now. And it needs to be talked about, and it needs to be understood. And that's good. Like, that's how we grow. But for me at least, when I see a lot of people getting mad about, like, how could you make that movie 20 years ago? It's like, well, you can't
20
now,
years ago.
yeah, 20 years ago, it was different. 20 years ago, it was different, and we need to be able to talk about it. And if we just ignore it and pretend that it never existed, then we aren't growing and learning from it. We can't have that discussion at all, which sucks.
Yeah.
So Weekends at Bernie, really weird movie. A guy dies, and I think like he owned the mansion. He was a rich guy, and these two guys basically had to pretend to keep him alive so they could stay at his house. And so they just like puppeteered this corpse for
Yep.
super fucking weird movie. Funny. What's a bodybuilder in life? Oh yeah, the skeleton. His meat just decided to stay around.
I mean, like, that kind of is a thing, right? Like, for people who have done super strenuous work for most of their life, including bodybuilders who have, like, massive careers, tendons and muscles will calcine, right? Where they connect to bone, like, they actually... muscle and tendon will become like ossified.
Yeah, I think so. That's why you get mummies, right? Like mummies are hard.
No. Like in life, there will actually be calcium deposit like bone.
Oh.
It will become like bone where the tendon attaches. Like bone grows up your tendon.
I will look into that. I don't know, and I don't know enough about it to counterpoet it. Ossification, I thought it was not a good thing. I thought that was a bad thing.
Oh, it's not. It's not a good thing. It's why people. This phenomenon is specifically why people who have had like really hard labor jobs for all of their life have horrifying joint and tendon issues.
Yeah.
But like you can see a really big example of it in long neck dinosaurs.
Gotcha.
Because they have ossified tendons along their necks. They're like these really long, thin pin bones. They didn't used to be able to be preserved, but on really preserved skeletons that we find nowadays, you can actually find them. Humans don't get anything quite like that, but like. It doesn't become that big, but yeah, ossification of tendon and muscle is a thing, and it's.
So I thought that was like what fibromyalgia was
No.
ossification.
Fibromyalgia. As someone who has fibromyalgia, I was told is that is a like an overactive touch response, like the fibers of your nervous system become like degraded or exposed and it becomes painful. So you deal with chronic pain.
Maybe I must be thinking of something else then.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just his fibrosis? Doesn't matter. I'll look it up later. Look at Blazing Saddles. That would never be made today. Yeah, probably not. Not in the same way. But that's the point. Like, could Mel Brooks remake Blazing Saddles? Probably. He probably could. But like the other thing I think that is to think about with those old movies like that is they were usually made satirically, right? Like that was the thing with Blazing Saddles, is they wanted to point out all of the racism and like classism that happens there. And the downside to it is because they were so accepted, people didn't get that message out of it. They just saw it as a funny movie, which got it more views. So who knows? I think the difference with Blazing Saddles is the target of the ridicule isn't minorities or the oppressed. Yeah, it's supposed to ridicule like it's a satirical thing, which is great.
Yeah, it's the false image of the stereotypical white cowboy, right? Making fun of that, which never actually existed.
An old film that was a parody of racist films and had mostly black crew that people think is racist. Yeah, I mean, I have no comment on that. I guess I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. But that's the thing with like thinking something is racist doesn't make it racist. It also doesn't like make it good or bad. Like it's
Like,
usually a
it's-
bad thing because someone is making it maliciously to oppress
Yeah.
something. But that's why you have to take everything in context and understand what's happening before you can just label something bad, which is scary, and it can be very dangerous because people can take that, exactly what I just said, out of context and be like, oh, well, see, now see, that's racist, and so it's okay. It's like, no, that's not how that works. Like, context matters, reference matters.
Yes. And just because something like is offensive doesn't necessarily make it racist, right?
Yeah, right.
So
Offensive
you, like-
is an important thing, and that's we got back to comedy, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing with Blazing
Imagine
Saddles
that.
too, is like some things are meant to be offensive, and it's just a matter of the intent. I'm making a character for my 1v1 campaign. What skill proficiencies do Oath Religions have? Trying to remember. Go watch my video. I talk about it a little bit, but I think they have. I mean, Google. I guess we should just Google it instead of me trying to pull it out of my memory. Persuasion? Persuasion, deception. I can't find a cohort answer on Google. A coherent one? That's weird. Something that is racist that you personally don't think is racist doesn't automatically make it not. Thank you. Yeah, Bernie, that's kind of what I was trying to get at. Like, yeah, what I'm trying to get to is, like, one, it's not up to the individual to decide if something is racist. Like, it kind of needs to be a that's not true though. Like, it's too nuanced. I think it's too nuanced for this type of thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Conkers taught me about context sensitivity when I was a kid.
This is also too political for your channel.
Yeah, that's fine. Turns out nuance and context matter a lot. Exactly. Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that need to be remembered that happened. Maybe not celebrated is kind of the difference I would look at.
Yeah.
So, like, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle should be remembered. It's an okay movie, but maybe don't celebrate it as like a, contemporary classic.
Things get outdated and there's no such thing as the good old days.
Yep. Everything changes. I'm okay with that.
That's, yeah.
People are allergic
fine.
to context today. Nuance died in the 90s. Man, go watch The Green Knight. That's good. I'm trying to think of shit that happened in the 90s. What was it? The people that made oh no, what's that called? It's not Arrested Development. What's the other one? It was on at the same time.
The Office?
No. It's got Danny DeVito in it.
Oh,
Always Sunny?
Always Sunny,
Philadelphia.
yeah. Always Sunny. They do a podcast now where they like go back and watch the old shows and talk about it and stuff. And and they were saying that like they loved watching cartoons because the cartoons when they were made could tell you what kind of drugs people were taking at the time. And so like growing up in the 80s, you got the spillover from like the mushroom and psychedelics from the 70s, the 60s and 70s, which the 60s and 70s cartoons were just like hyper psychedelics. And so they were talking about that with like the Hobbit movie and a couple other things. Oh, like Fraggle Rock, that was their example. Like Fraggle Rock is a great,
yes.
because like Jim Henson had to have just loved mushrooms and or marijuana. For sure. I can't prove that.
Several of the crew people have talked about imbibing those things while making their early stuff, so
Absolutely. But then they were saying on the podcast that like, but then when you hit the 90s, like how much of that was influenced by the amount of cocaine everyone was starting to take. And you have things like the Ninja Turtles, and they had a whole bit about like, okay, so there's like some rats in the sewer, man. I'm just like, I lost it.
rats in the sewer.
Or turtles in the sewer, and they're masters of like a rat guy teaches them kung fu. It's like it's funny to think about that kind of stuff. Drugs, yo. Don't do them. Okay, I'm done with this. Done with this skeletal boy. He's spindly. What is nuance? We don't have any. I mean, this whole conversation 3 hours ago started with a lady ragging on millennials. Not millennials, Gen Z, because they don't have nuance.
Yeah.
So I think it's a cultural, like multi-generational thing. Context is important. $31. Oh, that's a reroll. 5. Frost Giantkin Goliath fighter that specializes in throwing weapons.
So nicely, Goliath.
Oliver says I can't find a coherent answer on Google. Is that still for the proficiencies? I'm not bitter. Why do you ask? 'The D&D wiki says they have Arcana, Insight, Perception, and Stealth. They actually, yeah, they do have all of those. There you go. Red. What time is it? It is almost 2 o'clock. Potentially random. What's the most interesting spell book idea you've had a wizard use? What do you mean interesting spell book idea? Like the thing that is their spell book? Or like...
Yeah, like, is it a deck of cards?
I had a player have a ring. That was pretty interesting. Sword.
How did they inscribe their sword with spells?
It was a sentient creature. Pathfinder has an option for instead of spell books, you have objects.
Yeah.
Like that was it's an alternative thing you can do. As in not just a spell book. Yes. Okay. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, first edition Pathfinder, like wizards didn't have to have a spell book. They could have a familiar or
an object, yeah.
Or a bound object.
Bound, yeah. I'm trying to think of, yeah, because like I guess I haven't had too many people play Wizards 1 and 2. They never went super weird with it.
Yeah, same.
Had 2 wizards.
It's always been kind of super vanilla. I almost wonder. I haven't had this conversation with Jump Rope, but I very much wonder if Mizzle, if her spellbook is a textbook.
Just a straight up textbook, yeah. A prayer carpet. That's cool.
That's very cool.
Little texts all over it. I played one character that just had their spellbook written on their body. That was interesting.
With the tattoos, I believe.
Yeah.
I think we've had that conversation before.
Yeah. That was one of my alchemists where I inscribed all the
all your alchemical formulas.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was way more interesting.
Very Full Metal Alchemist of you.
Yep. How does the Wizard Familiar is really fun to have, like, Archimedes, how does that spell go? Fish spell. Tattoo Wizard is really good. Witches and Pathfinder spellbooks are literally the familiars. Yeah, that which I think is based off of that wizard thing that they just expanded upon.
Yeah, I think so as well. The wizard familiars is kind of, or I always thought it was really fun. In first edition, I don't think, or at least I didn't think so much that an imp was possible. I think 5e and 2nd edition Pathfinder made an imp more like widely available, but I think that in 1st edition, if I'm remembering correctly, the imp was originally like just a wizard familiar possibility. I had a wizard player who had a, I mean, it was basically a Modron, but it was a sentient pocket watch, really.
Okay.
Who was their connection to magic.
The more you know. Not sure if Oliver's in the chat or not. See if they got their answer. Yeah, I don't have many other wizard concepts for that. Farm-based spellbook? I mean, why wouldn't that just be like an almanac? Which is still just a book. A magical pig. What are you drawing now? I'm supposed to be drawing a frost giant.
Goliath.
Yeah. I'm struggling with drawing a jaw. Wait, what? IMP4 Druid gets banned.
What?
Yeah, I don't understand, Bionic. I missed the joke.
Why would I get banned?
For mentioning the forbidden race? The Indy 500? Yeah, I'm confused. The Genius Almanac. Thanks. Hope the eyes feel better. It is. It's doing better, I think. I hope. Seems to be alright. A little weirded out. Oh, the Modrons? Yeah.
Oh.
My mom was saying, it's like, the only forbidden D&D race that I know of is the Kinder. Which are just halflings.
Mimics.
Rook likes me enough, I'm allowed to say what I want.
People can say whatever they want. Yeah, you can like mimics. I got no problem with that. I just don't want to draw them. It's like someone took all my hatred for steampunk. Steampunk.
Oh.
It's like all my hatred for steampunk, and like, what if we make a race out of that? It's just like, get out. Just get out.
What if we didn't do that?
You're fired. Hot take. I do not hate Kinder. Maybe because I read the books and played with decent humans, so I dealt with it. I didn't. I missed the beef. Never had to deal with it.
Yeah. The premise of the beef is the traits that Kinder had back in earlier editions facilitated problem players who wanted to steal from their fellow players.
They're just
Because it was like, I'm playing what my race is supposed to do, because Kinder don't have the sense of property.
yeah.
And it's like they also don't have, they're almost cursed to not feel fear. So it was just facilitated a lot of like toxic player interactions.
Gotcha. Talk about 4E, not a taboo topic. Yeah, that's true. don't understand property. Goblins aren't supposed to understand property. Someone left this perfectly good ladder in this shed. We should borrow it.
Yep. It's like
they can come get it from us when they need it again.
Nifty gold ring. It was just laying in your pocket, waiting for someone to steal it.
Yeah, like you weren't even using it. What, like?
Yeah.
I don't understand why you're so upset. You weren't even using it.
I think you do something with that without being toxic players. Pretty fun way. I agree. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Looks are pretty chill. No problem. Players go Klepto. Oh. I definitely have some issues with players that just like one. There is the video game mentality, like Skyrim, where you're just like, if I can pick it up, that means I'm allowed to pick it up. Tell me everything that's in the shop because I'm just gonna steal it. It's like there's nothing you think you can steal. Like nothing looks like it's stealable.
Yeah.
People are like, "No, I'm gonna try." It's like then you're gonna get arrested. Like you're good at thievery. You don't think this is a good time or place to do that. Please set up a plan. That's really all I ask of my players. Like if they want to steal something from anybody, like I want them to actually put thought into it and not just be lol random steal stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's my biggest beef.
If you're gonna play a thief, you had better damn well like be aware of consequences and guards, right? Like because there's no such thing as a successful thief who just walks in and takes whatever they want.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I like how Not handled it. Just the things she would steal wouldn't be things that no one would really ever miss.
Well, yeah, but also Not was a kleptomaniac, right?
Yeah.
So that was
Goblin brain.
Yeah. Well, that was a part of her character. That wasn't her being a goblin. That's something she had as a halfling as well. And that I think is kind of a really important thing. Like she wasn't. It looked like Sam was playing towards a like stereotype, but he really, really wasn't. And that's one of the things that made Not so cool.
Yeah.
But also like Not took some risks, but whenever possible, like Not tried to be smart about what she was doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Riegel definitely had the intelligence to do that without being as little random as possible.
Yeah.
Skyrim improving people's expectations for RPGs. Yeah. And that's just a limitation of the game. Because like now, I mean, the other thing with that is the same thing like World of Warcraft. It's like I'm a rogue. I use stealth, so I am now invisible. It's like nope.
That's not quite how that works.
The mindset
Even
of stealing.
when you're invisible, it doesn't mean you can't be tracked.
Yep. The mindset of stealing everything.
Quick, get the baby powder.
Yeah, I mean, look at like almost all RPGs. You can just walk into somebody's house, open a chest, and find something, right? It's like, it's Legend of Zelda, same thing. Like pretty docile game. You just break and steal shit all the time, and no one says anything.
I think same thing with Pokemon. You walk into people's houses and steal shit.
Just rummage through their garbage. Why not? It's fine. I really liked the in one of the, I think it was one of the Zelda games, Link to the Past, if you tried to steal something from the shop, like they punished you really hard for it, and I thought that was funny. Oliver, hey, as I often do, I have math problems. No problem, Oliver. I hope you got I found the skills for your ill-third, if you got those. There's Arcana, Insight, Perception, and Stealth. Skyrim made it pop culture. Yeah. I think Skyrim was probably just one of the first, because like you could steal shit in Daggerfall and Arena, and in Daggerfall I remember you had to steal arrows, like individual arrows if you wanted arrows. You had to you go into a shop and you'd be like looking on the shelves and see one arrow and you're just like, I want that. I want that real bad. And he would get overloaded with arrows.
Yeah. I reckon you could steal in every game. I know in Oblivion you had to steal so much merchandise of like equivalent, like I think equivalent of like 500 gold. And when you do, like, it puts you on the radar of the local thieves guild.
Gotcha. There was that's actually really interesting. I like that. Other people noticing that someone is stealing on their turf.
Yep.
How can I factor a theorem to prove that 4 times 1 is a factor of a function of x equals 4x to the third plus 5x to... I mean, how can you? I don't know how you would. But it is. It seems like it is. So you would put... It looks like it's raised to the third, so it'd be like 4x times x being... You'd have to factor that in and then take the equation out of it. Shoot. -6. I think you want to find a third of it. I think your answer is the square root of fx equals the square root of the whole thing. You'd have to do the whole thing. Man, I don't remember.
Yep.
Factor theorem. I'd have to relook up factor theorem. I'd have to learn that again.
How much longer do you think we're gonna go on this?
I think I'm burnt. I'm done. It's 2
You're
o'clock.
done? Okay.
I don't think I have any more in me, so I'm just kind of... I've been milking this one really slow.
I'm done with my old grumpy satyr.
I assumed when I joined the stream that there would be no math. I mean, we've broken pretty much every rule we were supposed to do today. We talked about politics. We talked about social ecological systems. We talked about diseases, Lord of the Rings, comedy.
Yeah. But also, I don't know why you would.
Star Wars.
I also don't know why you would think that, because like math is integral to D&D and Pathfinder. Pathfinder, especially to the point where first edition Pathfinder was called Mathfinder.
I really, really thought about making a short telling people what Thaco was, and I was just like, you know what? I don't care that much. I just didn't do it.
I don't think people care.
No, nobody cares.
Honestly, I kind of think you should still do it and do a short and say what you just said. Be like,
fuck it.
Okay, so Thaco is, like if you, Thaco, you know what? I don't care that much, and then just end it.
Oliver, it was there was Arcana, Insight, Perception, and Stealth.
It was a weird one, but
Factor theorem. Okay, so you are supposed to divide the polynomial from it. So you divide it by it until you can verify that x equals x. Factor of x minus a, then the polynomial, then you get a 0 remainder. Oh boy. Jeez. The point of the factor theorem is that the reverse of the remainder is the reverse of the remainder. Oh, is the reverse of the remainder theorem. If you synthetic divide a polynomial of x equals a, you get a 0 remainder. Then not only is x equal a, the 0 is blah 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 blah. I've done that before, but that was a crappy exertion F factor theorem, not an actual factor theorem. Yeah, I mean, it should be just an extrapolation of it. Math isn't role-playing game? How dare you? Get my pretty click-clack stones out of this, you idiots. I mean, what if you got a D12, right? How do you add your strength modifier to it? Something that I love and hate about Pathfinder is strength and a half. Do people
same.
Do people know about this? In Pathfinder, if you're using a two-handed weapon with both hands, that is a stipulation. You get strength and a half. So whatever your modifier is, yeah. More
I
math.
remember seeing those things, and I think I rolled so hard about them. I was like, why?
It makes so much more sense. If you're swinging a sword with both hands, it's stronger. Why wouldn't you get? Of course, the alternative to that is is if you're using a two-handed weapon with one hand, you get a -4, but full strength. So it's just like, I don't care. Two-handed weapons, here I come.
And then it's isn't in order to make it somewhat comparable, fighting two-handed with light weapons, you only get strength. You only get plus your strength or whatever modifier on your primary hand. You don't get it on your offhand.
I think that's a D&D edition. I think that's how D&D works.
I was pretty sure was
Pathfinder,
that in Pathfinder as well. I could be wrong.
Pathfinder, if you're using two weapons, you get negatives. You just straight up get negatives.
Oh, that's right.
And then the feats reduce the negative. So I think it's like a -2 and a -4 instead of a -4 and a -8, something like that.
Yeah. I still prefer to. Let's see. I still prefer to do two-handed or dual wielding over two-handed, because I think like you get bigger single hits.
Yeah.
With two-handed weapons, so I think generally speaking you do have a stronger output, but I like to crit fish with
Yeah. And I think that was the intent of two-weapon fighting, is like you're trying to get those crits, or you're getting precision damage on it. So like having two weapons with sneak attack is more damaging than a two-handed axe. So
yes.
Damn it! Now I'm gonna have to look that up. I have a problem where, like, if I half remember something, I want to remember it all the way. Use the factor theorem to determine whether x minus 1 is a factor of this thing. For x to be a factor, the factor theorem says that x minus 1 must be 0 of f equals. Okay. Set x minus 1 equal to 0 and solve for the purpose. Oh, okay. And then you just plug and chug. It says that, so plug and chug.
That is not something I expected to hear connected with math.
Yeah. So if we have 4x plus 1, we need to set that to 0. So you have to find the inverse of it. That's why, because I think you can do this with derivatives. Like, this is basically setting you up to be able to derive things. So fx has to equal 0. So you just run that through. So f of x equals -6. And then you just try to input that through here and then see what the number comes out to. Is that right? That doesn't seem right. Math time! First set x minus 1 equals to 0 and solve. Oh, we do it the other way around. Okay. So you need to find 4x plus 1 equals 0. And then you plug that into the function. Which is going to be 4x... Wait. Yeah. 4x minus 1. X equals -1/4. Oh boy. And then you plug -1/4 into the function and run it through and see what happens. Or do I have to do the division first? No, you wouldn't do the division first, because then it would be nothing. It would be -1. Completes the polynomial. Neat. Okay. I wish to do a slap. Someone call first responders overpaid and lazy. Yeah, that's not... They're an idiot. No math for my tiny head, man. Sorry, Elvin here. Do what I did in math class. Just zone out. just pretend that people are speaking a different language, because they are. Math is a different language. Try not to worry about it.
Yeah.
Assume that you won't be hurt. Just. This sounds really weird. I'm trying to make this sound like yeah. Math sucks. I like it, but it sucks. I used to just draw during math class. Like I still have all of my old math notebooks because I would like doodle, and then I would write down whatever they did on the board because whatever they were saying made no sense to me. It's just like I'm gonna ignore it and just let it wash over me, and then when they write something on the board, I'm gonna write that down because that's probably important. And that's what I did. That's how I got through math and physics. I feel like I'm just going to divide the whole thing by 4x minus 1. I mean, so yes, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to decide whether or not you can without having to brute force it. So if it is a derivative of it, or that's what you're trying to do. That's exactly what you're trying to do, is you decide whether or not you can without having remainders. The remainder is going to be 0, is that right? Correct. So you are basically trying to say whether or not, you're trying to check whether or not you need to do the math to see if this can be divided by it. And that's why they're asking you, is this, not what is the answer? Because the answer is 0, if it's correct. If it's not correct, then the answer is going to be hot garbage, and it doesn't matter. So, is this a factor of this? Yes or no? So you set it to 0, and then if it is, it is. Maths! That's why when I was looking at it, I was like, that can go into that. Let's just do that. That doesn't, like, that's the brute force method. Let the math just wash over you. That's what I was trying to say. Be one with the maths. Correct. Yeah. So you find the negative inverse of the first one by setting, well, you set it to 0, and then you test it, and then you put x into the function, and if it comes out equal to 0, then you're good. If it doesn't, then it's not divisible by it, and you're going to have a remainder. That's good, Frog.
Thanks. I went back to it because I'm done with the old Seder. And give us a little bit of color, because I think this is my favorite thing that I drew today. Jungle tree frog. I suppose I usually like to do poison arrow frogs for Gripply, but I'm kind of doing just a leaf, like a dumpy tree frog.
I don't want this to
Suppose
look
I could give it a little bit more color. What does chat think?
Chat, what do you got?
I don't even know whose suggestion this was.
You have to understand that secret power of 3, 6, and 9, along with the frequency. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Sacred numbers! Oh, man. My TikTok feed is just hot garbage.
Yeah, Monk Assassin. Right, yeah, Monk Assassin, Poison Dart Frog.
Well, you cannot draw right now. $432 hertz. That sounds familiar too. Everyone thought I was mad for choosing further maths. I mean, maybe you are. You know what use I've gotten out of advanced maths? This right now. A minimal understanding of what you're talking about. Let's talk about what LERP means. Freaking
LERP?
yeah.
I have no idea.
It doesn't matter. Nope, not LARPing. LERPing. LERP function. Something position. Linear extrapolation rotation positioning? I don't remember. It's basically like how tweening works, but in 3D space of Unity. There's a mathematical equation that allows you to take an object starting point and end at its end point using a LERP function, which is just all math. Minimal understanding and slight headaches. Yep, that's it. Depending on your field, you may use math a lot. Yeah, and that's really the thing, I think, is defining like what maths you need is important. Because like most people do not need to know how to factor polynomials. Like it's not useful to a lot of people. But it is funny because like the earlier you teach people advanced math, like it turns your brain on to a whole bunch of different things. Coding is a language. And math is a language. The sooner you learn the language in life, the easier it is for you in the future. Superposition, yeah, essentially. Transitioning between two superpositions, which is only possible because of math. Okay, I think I'm done. My brain is fried.
Okay, yep. I mean,
I don't know what...
switch to math mode.
Yeah, after.
Leave it.
I knew a guy when I was way younger who he worked for the Army on a nuclear submarine, and he had a photographic memory, and it was always really fun talking to him about stuff. And he just hated it. He's like, yep, I have a photographic memory, and so like I have 20-year-old launch codes permanently in my brain for a nuclear sub. And it's like not specifically, but like he's just saying like I have all this old information that is completely not relevant to anybody. Like it's just permanently stuck there. Like I can remember equations and calculations and stuff that's just always going to be there. And it's like that's kind of weird and scary. But so yeah, he quit doing it because like there's too much math that I don't want in my head. It's like but weird dude. I'll just put it that way. He was fun to talk to. He was a good guy, but weird dude. I once saw him. This is the anecdote I'll leave you guys with. A bird had flown into the store we were working at. This is when I worked at a video store. And it was like flying around. He just walked up and grabbed it out of the air. And then walked to the front door and hugged it. He's just like, get out. And I was just like, the hell was that? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you just grabbed a bird. It was funny. It was really funny. Weird dude. Brain ain't as fried as mine. I now have to put two of them in a fraction, pull out the quadratic factors for the polynomials, and then fully simplify. There you go. I told you. You're going to the derivatives. It's good stuff. It's gonna be fun. That's all I got. Go put a comment on a video or something. That would help me a lot. Go watch some of my shorts. I'm working on a short, but I'm not done with it yet because it doesn't feel funny. Like, I did a thing. It's cute, but it's not funny yet. So I might take another day or two and whittle away at it. I also did not finish the art I was working on yesterday. If people saw that, it was pretty awesome. But we are just streaming in the Discord, I think, on Mondays and Tuesdays because Twitch is kind of still being a butt. So we'll see about what we do with that.
But yeah, come hang out with us. You are welcome in the Discord chat.
Just come hang out. And that's all I got. I'll put all of these in the Discord draw so people can use them for their games and such. We do have still a pretty big list. I will hold that over till Friday. So if your stuff didn't get drawn, it might still get drawn on Friday. Thanks for all the talk and art. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for letting me rant and rave about stuff.
And talk about math.
Go watch Blazing Saddles. Like, go watch Blazing Saddles and then like look up who Mel Brooks was. Like, he's a cool dude, but like lived through a lot of weird shit. Lots of good old comedians.
History of the World Part 1 and 2
Yep.
that just released.
If quantum entangled particle is moving and other particles move in the opposite directions, does it alter the alignment? I don't think so, unless they're entangled. Just watch Mel Brooks movies. Yeah, Mel Brooks is like the kind of like, I think, one of the godfathers of comedy, like for movies wise, like. But it's a cool master class of like slapstick and really like deep cut political jokes that I think people of the time probably didn't quite get. Like it's kind of, you can only see him now that you have the time to watch him. Like, oh man, Young Frankenstein. Like, I remember watching that in high school. People do like a play of it. It's not appropriate for most people, but Spaceballs too, same thing.
Yep.
Search for more money. Yep. Thanks, everybody. Stay happy, stay healthy, keep your dice on the table. We'll catch everybody later. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. We'll see you on Friday.
Yeah. Bye.